If you're not the president, you're the advertiser. A sentence by US President Roosevelt became popular in China. Yesterday I was penniless, today I have a lot of money. This is the reality of the advertising industry. When Shen Jianghe had no choice but to find a job, he entered the advertising industry that he both disliked and feared, and began his savage growth with a group of young people. However, an accident led him step by step towards the pinnacle of his life. This is a true story that expresses the legend of reality. Keywords of the novel. Ideal Gate without pop-ups, Ideal Gate TXT complete collection download, Ideal Gate latest chapter reading. Chapter 1, also known as, I Am the Boss, Preface. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1, also known as, I Am the Boss, Preface, If You're Not the President, Be an Advertiser. A sentence from US President Roosevelt quickly became popular on the land of China in the 1990s, attracting countless aspiring individuals or those who followed the trend to enter this industry. So, in this wild growing industry, a group of passionate young people were born. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Entry Card. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2, Entry Card. Yesterday I was penniless, but today I have a lot of money. This is the magical change that Shen Jianghe brought to the advertising industry, which he detested and feared the most, when he was at a loss. This is simply satire. For Xinjiang River, it's also a miracle. Irony and miracles completely awakened him. He came to this metropolis from 1,000 miles away not for survival, but for a better life. As a result, he suddenly realized that in this industry, enlightenment can become a pioneer, and gradual enlightenment can only be an ascetic monk. It's better to break the jade than to ruin it. Currently, this small advertising company can no longer satisfy his desire for rapid growth. His goal is the Suizhou Daily Newspaper Group. This is the highest and most authoritative news organization in the province. Shen Jianghe stood at the entrance of this institution with a clear mind, gazing at the office courtyard that many job seekers have been dreaming of. An electronic clock in front of the guard room of the government compound shows that it was Monday, June 16, 1997, at 9:45 a.m. Shen Jianghe is going for a job interview at the Suizhou Urban Daily, a subsidiary of Suizhou Daily. The interview will take place at 10 o'clock. 2 security guards stand on both sides of the pedestrian entrance and exit of the courtyard, reminding everyone entering to show their identification documents. Shen Jianghe had no identification on him. He went to a company for an interview half a month ago, and his ID card and graduation diploma were all detained there. Wang Jiaze, a college classmate of Shen Jianghe, works in the advertising department of Suizhou City Daily in this courtyard. Wang Jiaze told him that the management of the courtyard is strict, and the security guards are sharp-eyed. You cannot enter without documents. After he arrived at the entrance of the newspaper office, he made a phone call and Wang Jiaze came down to pick him up. Looking at the gatekeeper's dedication and meticulous work, he suddenly had a thought and boldly barged in. He has the confidence and courage. Shen Jianghe took off his glasses, breathed a sigh, took out his glasses cloth, carefully wiped them, and then put them on. His eyes looked even clearer and brighter. He wore a pager on his left waist and the latest Motorola handheld phone on his right waist, which was a witness to his miraculous debut in the advertising industry. There is a rhyme that goes, with hair falling back, it's either the boss or the leader. Shen Jianghe reached out his hand and calmly pursed his carefully crafted running head. He immediately put away his smiling face, revealing a majestic expression. Then he straightened his chest and head, carrying his briefcase, and walked towards the courtyard without looking at anyone else. The 2 guards glanced at him separately, seemingly forgetting to ask him to show his identification, and watched him walk into the courtyard. I succeeded. He felt a burst of ecstasy in his heart, and couldn't help feeling a bit smug. He just wants to test how much determination and perseverance he has. He believes that perseverance carries a kind of determination, and determination is a person's core competitiveness. The position he is interviewing for is not a journalist or an editor, but rather a grassroots advertising salesperson. Shen Jianghe walked into the building at a leisurely pace, pressed the elevator, and after entering the elevator, he carefully examined himself against the illuminated wall of the elevator. Fortunately, although not dressed in fresh clothes, it is still full of vitality. He needs this job too much and doesn't allow himself to make any mistakes. The elevator clanged, indicating that his newly engaged advertising career would be elevated to a higher level. As I stepped out of the elevator, a strange and unfamiliar aura swept over my face. Adaptation is a person's survival instinct, and quick adaptation can be said to be an essential skill for an advertising salesperson. Shen Jianghe calmed down and mobilized his whole body's cells to start touching this unfamiliar atmosphere. Then, he surged and slowly adapted, and soon became full of passion. Wang Jiazi was surprised to see him and asked him how he got in. "I can't even enter the door, how can I do business in the future?" He smiled calmly, and doing business requires a kind of arrogance. "You're in good shape," Wang Jiazi whispered to him as he walked. "Don't talk about the past, brag about the present, praise yourself, like selling an advertisement, try to sell yourself first." Wang Jiazi repeatedly emphasized that he was born with an honest and straightforward face, and boasting would have a killing effect. "For this job, if we don't boast at this time, when will we wait? Can't even sell oneself, still want to sell advertisements." This is Wang Jiazi's philosophy. Damn it, Shen Jianghe came to sell advertisements because he didn't sell himself when looking for a job. He smiled bitterly and could only refute in his heart. The office of Chu Hanfeng, the general manager of the advertising department of Suizhou Urban Daily, is a bit large, but it is filled with 5 desks, making it look full. His desk is at the bottom. He pointed to the chair in front of his desk and gestured for Shen Jianghe to sit down. Shen Jianghe smiled and thanked him, then took out his resume from his briefcase and respectfully handed it to him with both hands. "I worked for a small advertising company representing Suiqing Evening News for 10 days and signed for the largest mid-seam advertisement in the history of the newspaper." Shen Jianghe opened his mouth, but Wang Pe, who had already thought about selling melons, only revealed one big truth. He knew that whenever he lied, he would stutter, so it was better to maintain his true nature. Chu Hanfeng looked at his resume without speaking. "My purpose in joining that advertising company is just to hope that through my own efforts, I can eventually join the Suizhou City Daily." Shen Jianghe couldn't help feeling nervous when he saw Chu Hanfeng lift his head from his resume and look at him, but he still smiled at Chu Hanfeng's gaze, to be honest. After searching for a job for nearly a month without success, he once entrusted Wang Jiazi to look for Chu Hanfeng, hoping to join the advertising department of the City Daily. However, Chu Hanfeng refused due to his lack of relevant experience. He had to compromise and enter a small advertising company. "I haven't been working in the advertising business for long, but I came for the interview with a successful mindset." Shen Jianghe is worried about being rejected again, as he has only been in this industry for a short time. Chu Hanfeng remained silent, his gaze appearing soft on the surface, but in his heart it was like a sharp sword. He could only force himself to remain calm and catch his gaze, as if there was a sound of swords intersecting in his mind. He suddenly realized that this might be Chu Hanfeng intentionally probing himself. His eyes are the window of the soul, what does he want to see into himself? He thought of a sentence. "When we meet on a narrow road, the brave win." At this moment, our vision must not shrink, otherwise, the miracle we create may become a relic. He hoped that Chu Hanfeng could quickly retract his gaze and ask himself some questions. Any tricky or peculiar questions would suffice, but this kind of gaze made him somewhat overwhelmed. "But now, it's okay or not?" He continued to smile hard, trying to maintain his purity and prevent Chu Hanfeng from seeing any flaws. Advertising salespeople are born with a tenacious spirit, a murderous spirit, an ambition, without any ambiguity, and must never back down. Chu Hanfeng then withdrew his gaze, nodded, and said, "Ha. This is the accent of Shen Jianghe's hometown, which means good." He heard Wang Jiazi say that Chu Hanfeng and himself are authentic fellow villagers and belong to the same county in their hometown. You ask Wang Jiazi to take you to Tang Wenwu's place to handle the onboarding process. After Chu Hanfeng signed a few words of agreement on his resume, he gave it to him, and then pointed to the desk in front of him. You just sit here, squeeze in for a while, wait until the conditions are met before we can talk. Is it that simple? Is there still such an operation? Joined without asking anything. Shen Jianghe couldn't believe it, but he had prepared for most of the month for this interview. This tormenting advertising department. Fortunately, he withstood the test and Shen Jianghe's tense nerves suddenly relaxed, tired but happy. "Mr. Chu, after joining the company, I want to do business advertising." Shen Jianghe quickly put forward his own requirements. He used to do column advertisements, and the only thing advertisers value about these types of advertisements is their advertising effectiveness. Industrial and commercial advertising, also known as brand image advertising, generally does not pursue practical results. "I need to consider your entry first." Chu Hanfeng did not immediately express his opinion. It's good to be able to join. This is the lowest expectation that Shen Jianghe has for today's interview. However, this expectation is stuck in the administrative office. Without an ID card, one cannot start working. Tang Wenwu, the director of the administrative department, immediately refused him upon hearing that he did not have an ID card. Shen Jianghe suddenly fell into an abyss, despite being mentally prepared before. Before engaging in advertising business, he had been looking for a job for nearly a month, but couldn't find a suitable one. He made himself a 3-no personnel and couldn't even prove who he was. "I'll talk to Mr. Chu." Wang Jiazi prepared to find Chu Hanfeng to mediate and let him join the company first. No need to search. This is not a regulation of the advertising department or the city newspaper's onboarding process, but a unified regulation of the group's personnel department. Administrative Director Tang Wenwu said it's useless to find anyone, and suggested that Shen Jianghe prepare his documents first. "I can prove it for him." Wang Jiazi was more urgent than Shen Jianghe. Shen Jianghe and Wang Jiazi are not only college classmates, but also have taught together in a remote rural high school in this province. They have shared hardships, and their relationship is very deep. You can only provide him with a certificate of education, but you cannot provide him with an identity document. Other documents include a floating population's family planning certificate, temporary residence permit, etc. You can apply for them slowly. An identity card is required when starting a job. Tang Wenwu said he understood their feelings, but he was helpless. "I'll figure out a way to get my ID back. If it doesn't work, I'll have to go back to Chujiang's hometown once." Shen Jianghe had no other choice. "A few days later won't affect your onboarding. Don't worry, I'll talk to Chu Hanfeng later and try to arrange a better industry for you." Coming out of the administrative department, Wang Jiazi comforted him. As they walked and talked, they met Chu Hanfeng head-on. "Shen Jianghe, you can do column advertising and be responsible for the enrollment and training industry." Chu Hanfeng didn't ask him about his employment and directly arranged his work, rejecting his request to do business advertising. Shen Jianghe has had teaching experience, and Chu Hanfeng's arrangement seems to have some reason. "Let's just recruit students. Being familiar with the road doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing." Wang Jiazi had no choice but to turn his head and comfort Shen Jianghe. "I finally knocked on this door, but I couldn't start immediately. I was worried that my dreams would become an unknown variable." Shen Jianghe is somewhat resentful, like a thorn in his throat. "You have successful advertising cases, don't think so much. Follow the routine and buy a bicycle first." Wang Jiazi told him, there must be a way to get to the front of the mountain. How can a living person suffocate in urine? The original title of this book was, "I Am the Boss," please bookmark and comment. Welcome to Roast. This article is adapted based on real events. The male lead is no different from an ordinary person in reality, but in the end, he becomes the winner of life. American business philosopher Jim Romaine once proposed a five-dimensional theory of close friends. The average salary of your 5 closest friends around you is your income status. The male lead Shen Jianghe confirmed this viewpoint. The plot is a bit slow and writing a book is not easy. Please understand and provide more support. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Fate and Persuasion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Fate and Persuasion. The door of this institution courtyard had already opened to him, and now he could only sigh in disbelief while being inside. It is urgent to retrieve your ID card. At noon, if you go to ask for documents now, you may be shut out. He walked out of the office courtyard and was immediately surrounded by the hustle and bustle of the city. His eyes were full of prosperity, and his pride, which had just entered the courtyard, seemed to be fading in his heart. It has been several years since I left my hometown to come to this province, and there is always a sense of insecurity, a feeling of looking around in the vast expanse, and a feeling of having a fluctuating background. He walked aimlessly along Shuiqing Avenue, deep and shallow, and arrived at an overpass. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. There are many different types of bicycles under the bridge, which are second-hand cars for sale. The purpose of Wang Jiazi asking him to buy a bicycle is to run a business in the future, do column advertisements, and constantly visit customers. With bicycles, one can reduce the cost of taking the bus, and the other is to save time and facilitate customer visits. This is the experience of Yu Jiangnan, the best-performing salesperson in the advertising department of City Daily. He originally intended to buy a bicycle after joining the company, but now he has nothing to do to pass the time. He decided immediately to buy a bicycle and then go get his documents. He chose a bicycle that was 80% new and looked very beautiful. After paying 60 yuan, he also spent 8 yuan to buy a lock and secure it. With power under his feet, he suddenly became cheerful and rode his bike desperately, rushing left and right, freely riding the reins. I didn't stop until I was a bit tired from tossing and turning. I saw a newsstand next to me, bought a newspaper, sat down on a stone bench under a big tree, and calmly started reading the newspaper. Catch the thief. He was mesmerized when he heard someone screaming loudly. Shen Jianghe thought there was a thief next to him, so he looked around and looked around. It's you. It was a girl who came over and grabbed the front of the bike, as if afraid of him rushing over, shouting boldly. This surprised him greatly, and he looked at the girl in front of him in a daze. Assistant Lin. He couldn't help but shout out. It is clear that it is Assistant Lin who used to work at Ningyan Company. Ningyan is the boss of the company that refuses to provide his ID documents. This Lin, assistant, was a salesperson at Ningyan Company at the time, and his full name was unknown to him. In fact, his substantive job was to supervise them, who were outsiders who went out to do business. He was worried that they would be lazy and not be able to complete tasks with quality and quantity. Car thief. Hurry up and catch the thief. Assistant Lin shouted loudly in local dialect. People walked past in groups of 3 or 2, all looking expressionless, but no one approached. In this metropolis, there are a lot of outsiders with a complex personnel structure, and generally no one comes out to meddle in their affairs, appearing so indifferent. Assistant Lin, please take a clear look. This is my car, don't wrongly treat a good person. He was a bit angry and shook the key in his hand at her. Why did the car I just bought become a thief? Don't you admit it yet? Look, there's still my license plate stamp on this car. Assistant Lin glanced at him and pointed to the faucet and axle frame. Shen Jianghe looked carefully and inwardly complained, why didn't he pay attention when he bought a car? She's right. If there is a steel stamp on the car, it means it has a license plate. Losing bicycles in Shuiqing is almost a common occurrence, and the police cannot control it, so they have introduced regulations for bicycles to be listed on the road. However, even so, the phenomenon of losing bicycles still persists, and those who lose their bicycles also consider themselves unlucky. I believe the place where cars are sold under the overpass is the place where car thieves sell their stolen goods. I declared in advance that I did not steal a car. Shen Jianghe was speechless for a moment, and this was not something he had made clear at the moment. I don't care, this car is mine. Let's go to the police station together and make it clear. Assistant Lin continued to shout loudly. In this public setting, it's too embarrassing for such a thing to happen. She asked herself to go to the police station, but she may not be able to speak clearly. How can you prove it's your car? He felt wronged and couldn't go to the police station, but he was also unwilling to give away the car he just bought. The total cost of buying a car and a car lock is 68 yuan. For him now, it is a considerable amount, enough to survive in this big city for more than 10 days. You're still sophistry, I'll show you the original form now. Assistant Lin said, rummaging through his shoulder bag. I bought it, you should go find the car seller. Without confidence, his voice was weak as he spoke. Take a look. It's not mine, whose it? She found a bicycle certificate wrapped in green plastic and waved it in front of him. He saw clearly that the owner's name was Lin Shiman, and the steel stamp number was exactly the same. Drinking cold water even choked his teeth, and he completely lost the intention to stick to this car. Assistant Lin's name is Lin Shiman. She should know herself. She won't forget so quickly, will she? As long as you know her, you can discuss it. In the moment he was stunned, Lin Shiman stepped on her bicycle and ran away like flying. He wanted to chase, but his legs didn't move. Just like dreaming, dreams are ethereal, but reality exists truly. What the hell is going on today? Sighing is useless, no matter how much you hold back, you must retrieve your documents. He needs to go find Ning Ainen, who is holding his identification documents. At that time, it was common to seize documents and pay a deposit when looking for a job. He was interviewed for the position of editor at Ning & Company at the time, but the next day he was arranged to run a business trip. He felt deceived and resigned in anger. He has asked Ning Anso for documents multiple times, but she always says she hasn't found them and doesn't know where to put them. Wang Jiaza always laughs at him, asking for a document, like dating. And Charlotte, who lives with Wang Jiaza, is even more outrageous. It's highly likely that Ning Anen is interested in you. Charlotte is a top student in the philosophy department of a prestigious university. Based on his philosophical thinking analysis, Ning Anen definitely has other aspirations. Take a picture, Ning Anen is not only a beautiful woman, but also a local. Which onion or garlic do I consider, will you take a liking to me? Besides, we have been together for less than 2 days. In this metropolis, locals have a natural sense of superiority, and some look down on outsiders, especially rural people like Shen Jianghe from Zhejiang province who come thousands of miles away. Ning Anen is of the same age as him, standing tall and graceful, always shrouded in a frown without a trace of a smile, but also showing a different kind of aloofness. Sit down, Ning Anen saw him, and a hint of joy flashed on her face, but it was fleeting. He doesn't have to say, she definitely knows her purpose. He looked at her cold and frosty face with a hint of fatigue, a somewhat pitiful expression. What's going on? Made a fortune. Ning Anen looked at the phone he was wearing around his waist, and in a cold tone, she couldn't conceal her inner doubts and curiosity. Not really, just a slight gain. He flipped through the magazine she intentionally placed in front of him. This is under the name of the Communication Society, where she seeks out some manufacturers and distributors to publish product information in this internal communication magazine and charge a fee, which is just a name for it. Found a job. She had a hint of dimness in her eyes, but was surprised to see his calm and composed demeanor. Not seen for only a few days, he appeared much more mature and stable than before, and his body was still shrouded in an indescribable aura. I resigned again. Today I went to Suzhou City to apply for a job. He heard some clues, thinking that she must be holding her documents, making it difficult for him to find a job and obediently returning to her place to work. You'd better come back to work. You're only responsible for editing and don't have to do any business. I'll give you a little extra salary, Ning Anan said with a hint of melancholy, mixed with a request. He. Mr. Ning, I don't want to make a version now, I just want to do business. He thought the situation was very funny. A while ago, he had an innate passion for writing work, but now things have changed. Doing business. She was truly surprised. Half a month ago, he resigned because he was extremely unwilling to do business. Nature plays tricks on people, he said lightly. Ning Anan's face suddenly changed, it was a deeply regretful blush. She had long believed that Shen Jianghe would bring great help to herself in both editing and business, but she was a bit hasty and didn't give him time to turn things around, forcing him to leave. Okay, I'll ask you for more help when I need it in the future, she sighed helplessly in her heart. She knew that she had not been able to keep him before, and now it's even more impossible. As long as you need it, I can do it any time I have time, he said insincerely, just wanting to follow her instructions and then retrieve his ID card. He was also surprised that it was not easy for him to say something that he wanted from her. I hope you can do what you say. She took out his ID card from the office drawer. Of course. After seeing his ID card, he excitedly turned his head and quickly carried it in his pocket. And where is my diploma? I'll give it to you after I find it, she smiled at him for the first time, even though it was a bit bitter. Shen Jianghe suddenly realized that she was just negotiating terms with him, but he agreed to her without warning. Don't hesitate, we will return to the newspaper immediately to handle the onboarding process. Let's start counting from tomorrow. Is there anything else that hasn't been resolved on your end? There's still time today. Tang Wenwu shook hands with him with a smile, welcoming him to join. Then, Tang Wenwu took him to the advertising department for a walk, introduced the basic situation, and got to know other colleagues. There are not many people in the advertising department, with more than 10 people. Except for the general manager Chu Hanfeng, administrative director Tang Wenwu, clerk Xiang Jing, and advertising layout editor Yan Zi, the others are all advertising salespeople. Tang Wenwu's enthusiastic introduction made him strongly feel that he was finally really going to work in this government compound. After drifting for nearly a month, there was a feeling of finding an organization. He has an indescribable excitement in his heart. Coming downstairs into this vast courtyard, he felt for the first time that advertising was such an honorable thing, probably due to the superiority and satisfaction brought to him by this vast office complex. He usually likes to read books and newspapers, and he admires several newspaper reporters who are in the same courtyard. The thought of sitting on the same elevator with them in the future makes him feel that way. Everyone has a bit of vanity in their hearts, but the vanity space in Shen Jianghe's heart is filled with this courtyard, and vanity seems to have turned into motivation. Miss Lin. While he was indulging in wild imagination, he saw her again. How could she be here? Now she no longer works at Ningnan, obviously, it's not appropriate to call her the same name as before. Who are you calling Mississippi? Her beautiful face was very unattractive, and she gave him a fierce glare, her gaze like a knife. He was momentarily speechless. The title Miss, which was originally a respectful title, has now changed its flavor in this big city. Lin Shi. Stay away from me. She immediately interrupted him and whispered, it's unlucky. No, that. I want to explain to you about the bike issue. What bike? It's inexplicable. She threw down a sentence and left. Watching her petite and graceful figure disappear, he was somewhat surprised. I haven't offended you before, have I? Everywhere I go these days, I don't say where I go, and I'm pretty good at decorating. I paid for the bike I just bought, but now I completely ignore it and still speak up. After returning from Ningyan, he made a special trip to the place selling bicycles under the overpass, but it was empty. Today is really a ghost day, is it a Liaozhai adventure? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Challenges. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Challenges. Shen Jianghe knows that he will face the biggest challenge of his career next. Strictly speaking, this is not a challenge, but a search for abuse. My clients have mistreated me thousands of times, and I treat them like first love. This well-known saying comes from the advertising industry. The specific process is to self-abuse first, then seek abuse, and finally be abused. This process can be described as a trampling on one's own mental, physical, and mental strength. His previous fear and disgust towards this industry was rooted in this, but it was only after a chance success at a small advertising company that he realized he really had a bit of potential for abuse. After carefully analyzing the current situation of mainstream media in Suiqing, the results surprised him to himself. Suiqing, this metropolis, is an alternative, with relatively weak television media, which has led to the emergence of newspaper media. At present, the newspaper media is showing a trend of three powerhouses: Suiqing Daily, Suiqing Evening News, and Suizhou Daily. From the perspective of advertising management, Suiqing Daily is the strongest, followed by Suiqing Evening News, and the weakest is Suizhou Daily. Although Shen Jianghe used to work in a small advertising company, this company was actually representing advertisements for the Suiqing Evening News. He knows that even the advertising effectiveness of evening newspapers is limited, let alone the Suizhou City Daily. Suizhou Urban Daily is just a sub-newspaper of Suizhou Daily, currently a weekly newspaper that is published 3 times a week, with extremely limited influence. It is not easy to survive in the cracks of the 3 major newspapers. In addition, column advertisements place the greatest emphasis on the immediate effect of advertisements. If advertisements have no effect, they can only be bought and sold in one go. In this way, the future path will become narrower and narrower. So it seems that I have fallen into a dead end and fallen into a trap on my own. There is a saying that what you see is not necessarily the truth, and what you hear is not necessarily the truth. But existence is reasonable, and the existence of urban newspapers also has its own reasons. Shen Jianghe analyzed it for a while, abused himself, and then quietly recovered, which is also a basic skill of a salesperson. Let's settle for what we have, and do whatever we need to do. Everything remains the same. He needs to quickly grasp the situation of advertising by enrollment agencies in the 3 major newspapers throughout the year. This is a vast project, with the 3 major newspapers totaling over 1,000 copies per year. On average, one newspaper has 24 pages and requires flipping through over 20,000 pages. And it is necessary to record the addresses, phone numbers, and publication frequency of all enrollment institutions, analyze them, and then classify them to identify key customers as well as first and second-class customers. And from a global perspective, make a follow-up plan for each key customer. This is self-abuse. Based on the addresses of these enrollment institutions, mark the customer map, and then use the map to arrange the visiting routes, and list the goals that each visiting customer needs to achieve. This is seeking abuse. But the work goals he has set have exceeded the highest level of abuse, and are almost equivalent to suicide. He demands that he achieve 0 breakthrough within a month. That is to sign an advertising contract within a month. This process is called masochism. I entered the government compound yesterday because I didn't have a valid ID and was fishing in troubled waters. Of course, it was also to verify my inner vanity. On his first day at work today, he repeated his old tricks purely for entertainment. He remained strong and spirited as usual. Unexpectedly, the 2 guards not only did not ask him to show his documents, but also nodded and smiled at him. Perhaps the impression he left on the 2 guards yesterday still exists. This made him feel that stepping into the gate of this courtyard had no technical skills, and he suddenly felt that his interest was lost. During peak hours, there are many people going to work, and everyone consciously queues up in the elevator room of the office building to wait for the elevator. If this financial crisis really comes, our good days this year will come to an end, Shen Jianghe heard a person beside him whispering. Can't we? What is the connection between the financial crisis and us? Another person asked in a low voice. You're stupid. Advertising is a barometer of the economy. Nowadays, newspapers can't make much money from distribution, and some may even lose money. When the financial crisis comes, advertising performance will definitely be greatly affected. If newspapers lose revenue, it becomes a problem whether there are many monthly, seasonal, and year-end bonuses. The person next to him said. Shen Jianghe has read news reports that a financial crisis will sweep across the entire continent. He only learned about it and did not realize that it could still be associated with advertising. I heard that the city customs declaration will be suspended. Shoo. Don't spread, top secret. Shen Jianghe let out a loud bang in his mind, and the noisy sounds around him fell silent. Shut down. Are you going to be laid off as soon as you start working? Looking at the two speakers around me, it seemed like they had stepped on a landmine, and their expressions indicated that the news was not unfounded. He was still in the message section of the advertising department yesterday, looking at the documents related to the city newspaper issued by the group, and only one document was cancelled from the advertising department of the Suzhou City Daily. The document states that the advertising department of Suzhou Urban Daily will be changed to Suzhou Urban Daily Advertising Company, which will conduct independent accounting and be responsible for its own profits and losses. Strangely, it was rumored that the Suzhou Metropolitan Daily had been changed to a daily newspaper from July 1st. With only 2 weeks left until then, the group's documents are missing, which is truly unbelievable. But to shut down the city newspaper, why are we still recruiting troops and horses? He couldn't explain these phenomena and problems for any reason, only thinking of an idiom. A mediocre person disturbs oneself. As soon as you enter the advertising department, there is a lobby that has been converted into an office area with 7 or 8 office card slots. Colleagues from the advertising department crowded into office slots in the lobby to have breakfast together, joking while eating. Seeing him walking in, my eyes were fixed on him. Shaoyangzi. Xinjiang River. Old Shen advertising salespeople are all familiar from birth. It was only yesterday that Tang Wenwu took him to meet with every colleague, and his name was not remembered. Today, they called him out like old friends. He just smiled at them and walked into his office. My own office, also known as Chu Hanfeng's office, is located in the innermost room from the lobby. Before he could sit down, the clerk walked in like a whirlwind and brought him a pen and a notebook, which were considered his entry benefits. Xiang Jing is the kind of sunny girl, with bright eyes and white teeth, shining with hope, walking with wind. Listen to the voice, are you also from Chujiang? Shen Jianghe heard her speak with a local accent. Yes, all the advertising departments, except for Tang Wenwu, Yuan, and Yu Jiangnan, are from Chujiang. Xiang Jing heard him say he was his hometown and was very happy. The two of them suddenly found a common topic, and Xiang Jing and herself were in the same county. They spoke their hometown dialect together, feeling a bit regretful for meeting too late. Everyone usually has breakfast together every morning. You should go out and get familiar with them first, otherwise, if they gossip in the future, it may confuse the audience. When Xiang Jing mentioned these colleagues in the advertising department, their nature was not bad, but they were a bit talkative. Isn't that right? Just because I'm a rookie. He heard that in the NBA, the players who joined in their first year are all rookies and have to give their teammates shoes. There aren't many advertisements now, and everyone is under a lot of pressure. Let's adapt to the situation together and don't be unique. Xiang Jing didn't want him to be isolated as soon as he joined the newspaper. What is this truth? But he didn't say it out loud. Advertisers may be born as social animals, fighting side by side, huddling together for warmth, helping each other in the same boat. It's not something that one person can do to complete an advertising order. The most important thing is to release pressure and entertain together. Have you heard the news that the City Daily is going to be discontinued? He couldn't help but tentatively ask. Just listen. It was already confirmed whether the City Daily would change to a daily newspaper or suspend publication, but no documents were issued. Now that I heard that the financial crisis is coming, the group is starting to discuss again. However, one thing is certain. It will not maintain the status quo. Shen Jianghe was very certain. There really is something going on. Shen Jianghe was momentarily stunned. What are you worried about? With so many subsidiary newspapers and magazines in the group, you can transfer to any company. Shen Jianghe comforted him. He suddenly felt a moth to flame emotion in his heart, thinking carefully about applying for a job in the city. Was he wrong? Have you been misled by the halo of this mechanism courtyard and developed an illusion? In the office, we need to speak Mandarin. In the advertising department, there are only colleagues, no fellow villagers. Chu Hanfeng walked in at some point and said with a gloomy face. Shen Jianghe quickly apologized and didn't make a sound. As he entered, he left like a whirlwind. I was criticized by my superiors right after starting work, and I feel a bit unhappy to some extent. Sitting in the same room as the highest leader of the advertising department, he remembered a sentence. Accompanying you is like accompanying a tiger. If you call me dead, I must die. He quickly tidied up his desk and chairs and went to the restroom to wash his hands when Charlotte walked over. Don't have any ulterior motives, she is the cousin of Chu Hanfeng's wife. Xia Luo saw that he had just been talking to Shen Jianghe passionately, so she leaned over and whispered to him. I think so, is it possible? He joked with a smile. I can't even think about it. Let me tell you, the 3 principles of the workplace are. The company's money cannot be moved, the company's women cannot be moved, and the company's system cannot be moved. You can do it yourself. Charlotte thinks she is good at summarizing. He knew what each of Charlotte's 3 moves meant, so he patted him and joked, it depends on whether you have the composure and can control it. The relationship between Shen Jianghe and Chu Hanfeng indicates that what Shen Jianghe said is not empty. He said this to Charlotte, it was purely a pretense of lightness. Setting aside the issue of the city newspaper's non-stop publication, when faced with a financial crisis, the advertising effects that column ads need to bring to customers, as well as the maintenance of relationships between colleagues, are hidden crises everywhere. This industry is like an ironclad camp with flowing troops. Salespeople generally have no rest time and are always on standby to quickly enter the working state. The waves behind the Yangtze River push the waves before, and if each step is mishandled, one will be caught on the beach. Crisis, what salespeople do is turn crisis into opportunity. On his first day at work, Shen Jianghe's heart was like the football commentator's sentence about the men's football team. There's not much time left for him anymore. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. You are all bosses. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. You are all bosses. The probationary period is 3 months, which is a bit long for Shen Jianghe. If he doesn't issue an order for 2 months, he will automatically roll up and leave. He cleared out all the noise, his confidence exploded in an instant, and he wanted to create a miracle again. Everyone is going out to do business, the outside world is even more exciting. Tang Wenwu stood in the office area and began his fragmented thoughts of Tang Seng's mode. The decision to convert the urban newspaper into a daily newspaper has not yet been made, and Chu Hanfeng's current focus has not yet been fully on advertising business. Tang Wenwu has taken on the role of a part-time supervisor. Oh my God, I keep looking for clients every day. If clients bother me even more, Director Tang, why don't you come out with me? Calculate how much is left during your probation period. Time is money, efficiency is life, think of a solution. Director Tang, why don't you run the advertisement and I'll sit in your seat? Even the iron tree can bloom. Tang Wenwu's earnest words were immediately mixed in with everyone's complaints, making it difficult to defeat everyone with just one mouthful. He could only smile bitterly. This situation has strengthened Shen Jianghe's confidence in his own planning. According to his understanding, the fastest person to place an order was Yu Jiangnan, who was responsible for medical advertising. It took 20 days, and the vast majority of people have not yet made a purchase. His goal must be to complete the order within a month, but he should not be like these colleagues who, over time, lack performance, and even lose their sharpness. In the advertising industry, one cannot rely on trial and error to gain experience, as the cost of trial and error may have a devastating impact on one's morale. To grow, advertising salespeople rely on orders. Just like games, each order is a magic weapon for upgrading and winning. There is no precedent to learn from, only to learn about war in the midst of it. Miracles only occur once. He firmly believed that sharpening the knife would not delay the woodcutter. As long as he was prepared, miracles would come one after another. He took a notebook and began to search for information in the group's data room. It is said to be a reference room, but in fact, it is similar to a library. Most people in the newspaper office are night owls, and there are few people in the reference room during the day, making it quiet inside. Show your identification. Just as he was preparing to search for information, a cold and gloomy breath shot into the back of his head. The voice seemed familiar, and he turned his head to see the graceful figure under the nearby information shelf. It's Assistant Lin again, that Lin Shimeng. She really works in this government compound. I just arrived and haven't applied for a work permit yet. Is my ID okay? He explained with a smile. There are regulations. Assistant Lin still insists. Can I ask my colleagues at work to prove it? People are alive, but according to regulations, they are dead. I just hope she can accommodate them. No way. She showed no signs of concession. Shen Jianghe could sense something, she might be targeting herself. I didn't blame her, and besides, I am also a victim of the bicycle incident. Can't I be beaten to death with a single stick? Comrade Lin Shimeng, they are all for work. As employees of the same courtyard, could you be more flexible? He put away his smile and slightly increased his tone. Lin's assistant was stunned when he called himself Lin Shimeng. What's going on? An ant walked over and said, Xia, go ahead and help yourself. Leave this to me. Xia. Lin Xia. Isn't it Lin Shimeng? He is a bit confused. Lin Xia turned around with a flat mouth and walked away. Shen Jianghe talked about his own affairs. Lin Xia has just arrived and is not very familiar with some things. Could you please ask your colleagues to prove it through an insider? Auntie apologized and pushed the phone on the table in front of him. Seeing that Aunt was very kind, I felt a bit embarrassed and picked up the phone to dial Tang Wenwu's office phone. Director Tang. The newspapers are all in that corner. The aunt put down the phone and guided him. Shen Jianghe went to get the newspaper and thought about the names of Lin Xia and Lin Shimeng. They were so alike. Since there is no matter of bicycles, even if Lin Xia looks down on outsiders no longer, there is no need to treat herself like this. Besides, having a day with her colleagues and now working in the same courtyard, why bother? He realized that there must have been some misunderstanding between him and this Lin Xia, but he couldn't find the crux for a moment. He turned his head and saw his aunt whispering something to Lin Xia. Although Lin Xia nodded repeatedly, her face indicated that she was accepting her aunt's criticism. Now it's good. Based on her perception of her nose, face in the past 2 days, if she is criticized again, their relationship may be completely strained. Working in the same courtyard, this person looks down but doesn't look up. In order to catch up with the work schedule, he threw himself into it and completely forgot about the time. It wasn't until Wang Jiazi called him that he realized it was past lunchtime. Wang Jiazi told him that Tang Wenwu notified all personnel in the advertising department not to be late, leave early, or take leave for the afternoon meeting. Otherwise, punishment will be imposed. There weren't many people in the advertising department, and the conference room was a bit empty, but everyone's voices filled the room to the brim. The designated time has arrived, but the highest leader of the advertising department, Chu Hanfeng, is nowhere to be seen. Tonight, we'll give Chu Hanfeng a fierce beating. Xiao Hohot felt a bit proud when she mentioned Chu Hanfeng, but no one dared to take up her topic. In the advertising department, the only one who dares to call Chu Hanfeng by his name is Xiao Hohot, because they met Chu Hanfeng when he first started working as a salesperson in this courtyard. Amidst everyone's laughter and conversation, Chu Hanfeng arrived late. This is his first plenary session transferred to the advertising department of Suzhou City Daily. More than a month ago, he was also the advertising business manager of another weekly newspaper in the courtyard. He solemnly scanned the crowd, and the conference room suddenly fell silent. "I'm sorry. I'm late, willing to be punished," he said, nodding his head in apology. US President Roosevelt once said, "If you don't become president, you become an advertiser." He can be president, but not necessarily a qualified advertising salesman. Chu Hanfeng's opening remarks immediately caught everyone's attention. The advertising industry is already mature for developed countries, but in China, it has just begun. In order for enterprises to grow, advertising is indispensable, the economy to develop, and propaganda is indispensable. The times are making heroes, and we are now waiting for you to create an unprecedented era. The conference room resounded with thunderous applause. Shen Jianghe was very fortunate in his heart that he had walked into this soon-to-be magnificent era without hesitation. Some people say that journalists are the uncrowned kings, but as advertisers, we are the media consultants of companies. Let me ask you, if you are facing Fortune 500 companies, how can you be a good consultant for these companies? Today I will talk about one thing, which is psychological resilience. Psychological resilience is the prerequisite for everything. When facing the boss, general manager, and even chairman of a company, can we communicate with them equally and smoothly? Chu Hanfeng clenched his fist and said, "It must be possible." Shen Jianghe strongly agrees that his fear of this industry in the past was due to a lack of psychological awareness. Why? Because you are also bosses, you are your own boss, the boss of your career, the boss of your life, and the boss of time. As long as you are in a boss state, as long as you stand at a certain height, you can reach the peak. The words of Chu Hanfeng are like a wisp of spring breeze, brushing against the wasteland of Xinjiang River, which has just entered this industry, and is about to cultivate the process of all things to shine. So, I have decided to request that you start over again. Your external position is as the director, and I want you to look for the feeling of the boss. Chu Hanfeng instructed on the spot to have Tang Wenwu reprint business cards for everyone. In addition, this year, the advertising department does not have a management team. You are all managers who manage yourself, and everyone's boss is me. You report directly to me for work. Chu Hanfeng talked about the organizational structure of the urban newspaper advertising company. The meeting time was very short, and Chu Hanfeng did not give a lengthy lecture or elaborate in detail. He only gave everyone a direction. As for how to get there, it's a matter of personal consideration. Everyone started to experience it as if jokingly, calling each other the boss or director, and then ended up simply calling each other the CEO, Mr. Wang, Mr. Xia, Mr. Shen. It seems like a rehearsal before entering a new era. Bosses, directors, and presidents, Mr. Chu is hosting a banquet at the coronation platform tonight. After work, please come together, Tang Wenwu announced with a smile. Ascend the crown platform. Everyone exclaimed in surprise that it was the top Chinese restaurant in Suiqing, and usually only high-end banquets would go to that place. Deng Guantai is not far from the newspaper office. The layout is royal garden style, with pavilions, carved beams and painted rafters. The environment is very elegant. Everyone enters the coronation platform, takes a walk and takes a look, like Grandma Lu entering the Grand View Garden, everything feels surprised. As soon as I entered the private room, I was still reserved and elegant just now, and suddenly became unrestrained. Everyone started pushing and shoving around for seats, laughing and laughing happily. Everyone had a commotion for a while, and then it evolved into you pinching and pinching me. Yuan and Gu Jingjing were the two smartest salespeople, with Sheng Sihai and Xia Luo taking the lead, pinching them until they screamed and laughed sharply. Yuan used Shen Jianghe as a shield to avoid danger. He was held back and forth by Yuan, blocking the person pinching her. He became a string puppet, blushing and feeling embarrassed, at a loss. Xiao Hohot also joined the battle group, and the scene was chaotic. This little pretty guy is still blushing, it looks like a baby, very tender. Xiao Hohot took the opportunity to pinch him a few times, touched his face, and smiled brightly. The clerk Xiang Jing couldn't bear to watch anymore. She walked over and separated him from a few women, and the scene suddenly eased. Haha. You're still blushing as a big man. As advertisers, we need to have thick skin, and all we talk and laugh about is entertainment. Yuan smiled as she looked at him with a somewhat uneasy expression. It's nothing, just get used to it. When these people joke, their standards are boundless. Xiang Jing whispered in his ear. At this moment, Chu Hanfeng walked in and looked at everyone, frowning unconsciously. Sing what song on what mountain, even in a private room, should we pay attention to this occasion? Chu Hanfeng asked everyone to be more reserved. We are a team, not a mob. Everyone quickly quieted down and immediately transformed into gentlemen and ladies. Let you have the concept of a boss in your mind, but you can't do whatever you want. Chu Hanfeng instructed Tang Wenwu to find a teacher and schedule a time to provide etiquette training for everyone. When you go to meet clients, you not only represent individuals, but also the newspaper, said Chu Hanfeng, an advertising salesperson whose personal image is also quite important. Shen Jianghe noticed that during the meeting, Chu Hanfeng may have been intentionally late, and bringing everyone here is also a continuation of today's meeting content. When taking clients into such a place, they should walk with their heads held high, remain calm and composed, but also be polite, neither humble nor overbearing. Only in this way, whether at the dinner table or in the negotiation venue, can we better create an atmosphere, grasp the rhythm, and have the voice to chat and negotiate with customers. Chu Hanfeng seized the opportunity before the meal to share his experience in dealing with customers. Have you ever been in a relationship? It's similar to the process of doing advertising business. Chu Hanfeng vividly used a metaphor. Now our key is to only be in love, we can't always get married, Xiao Hohot said with a smile. That's just playing hooligans. With such superficial contact, over time, the customer's interest even fades away. Chu Hanfeng smiled bitterly and shook his head. Everyone laughed together. To delve deeper, to find the customer's interests, the customer needs to feel satisfied before they have the motivation to place an order, Charlotte added from time to time. So you're just playing hooliganism, Xiao Hohot may have thought crookedly, If we can't find the connection between the newspaper and the client, which is the point of interest that Xia Luo mentioned, it's not enough, right? Shen Jianghe listened very carefully to Chu Hanfeng and took over the topic to help Xia Luo smooth things over. Yes, that's the reason. Chu Hanfeng affirmed Shen Jianghe's statement. Be as dedicated as you are when it comes to dating. Chu Hanfeng emphasized that using the brain to do things can only get things done right, and using the heart can do things well. The dishes were served, and due to Chu Hanfeng's words when he first arrived, everyone changed their usual eating style and ate politely. Chu Hanfeng, it's not easy for you to treat us to a big meal. Why do I feel like I haven't eaten enough yet? After finishing the meal, Xiao Hohot shouted again. That's great. I've never eaten enough to accompany clients, Chu Hanfeng said with a smile. After finishing their meal, they walked out of the coronation platform and didn't disperse. After Chu Hanfeng, Tang Wenwu, and Xiao Hohot left, Yu Jiangnan and Su Jianjun urged everyone to go to the bar to drink and relax. Yuan Yuan and Gu Jingjing immediately responded. With the participation of two beautiful women, the other salespeople became restless. Shen Jianghe couldn't resist Yuan Yuan's warm invitation and joined their ranks. In the bar, there are colorful and dynamic music. Bring me some wine. Gu Jingjing started shouting before he could sit down. Her shout was like a horn, and everyone immediately became excited. I don't know where to get the news from, but Tian Chong said that Gu Jingjing was pursuing a customer. He didn't mention the advertisement until it was discussed, and the two were dumped after only a few days together. Coming from out of town to the big city of Suiqing, girls have a relatively weaker sense of security than men. Finding a partner locally is probably a common idea among many girls, which is quite normal. Zheng Sihai and Tian Chong seem to have ill intentions, and together with Xiao Luo, they tried every means to drink the wine from Yuan Yuan and Gu Jingjing, but Yuan Yuan was really good at drinking. A girl was more than enough to deal with a few big men. Gu Jingjing was even more generous, stepping on a stool and swinging her lotus-shaped arms. Anyone who drank with her refused, and it really had a heroine-like demeanor. After a few rounds of pushing cups and changing cups, Zheng Sihai and Tian Chong began to move around, causing Yuan Yuan to scream and ignore them. They sat down next to the Xinjiang River. Come, let's play with the color cup. Yuan Yuan leaned over. I don't know how to play. Shen Jianghe was a bit reserved on this occasion for the first time. Then I'll teach you. Yuan Yuan placed a colored cup in front of him. In the future, it will be useful to accompany clients. This is also a skill. As a salesperson, you need to learn everything you need to know, not only to sit still, but also to avoid getting dirty. Shen Jianghe's interest greatly increased at the moment. Yu Jiangnan and Su Jianjun, one on the left and one on the right, sandwiched the ancient capital in the middle and took turns toasting the ancient capital. Damn it, Chu Hanfeng knows how to make pancakes. He just tells lies seriously. This tattered newspaper has no circulation and no advertising effect. What should we do? Gu Jingjing drank and cursed at the same time. Shen Jianghe was surprised to see her quietly in the office, but now she looks like a shrew cursing the street. In the afternoon meeting and evening dinner, Chu Hanfeng can be said to have reignited the almost extinguished flame in everyone's hearts. But the words of Gu Jingjing once again touched the pain points in everyone's heart, and the music that lingered in everyone's ears seemed to become a miserable and decadent sound. Shen Jianghe quickly assimilated into the atmosphere of the bar, perhaps due to his investment. Under the influence of alcohol, Yuan Yuan showcased her talent in entertainment to the fullest. The various gameplay of the color cup and the jumping techniques of various dances erupted in a frenzy, leaving Shen Jianghe dazzled and stunned. This is an advertising salesperson who works like a wolf and has some special skills in entertainment. When doing advertising, you have to make yourself crazy first. Yuan Yuan seemed to be drunk. Just as everyone's passion was stirring up by Yuan Yuan, Gu Jingjing, who was drinking, suddenly burst into tears. Everyone was momentarily stunned and did not speak. Yuan Yuan quickly went over and patted her back. No one tried to stop her, and everyone seemed to be infected. They remained silent for a moment amidst the cries of Gu Jingjing, letting their emotions linger. The pressure is too great, just cry out, Charlotte said lightly. She's drunk, Lao Yu, you can take her back. Shen Jianghe couldn't bear this emotion and didn't agree with Gu Jingjing's statement. His understanding of the pie painting is to depict the promising future, not to imagine a utopia out of thin air that is unattainable. Being able to draw a circle on a cake is also an ability. When leaders draw cakes for employees, they also have to draw cakes for themselves. The important thing is to learn how to draw cakes for customers. Old Su went to deliver. Yu Jiangnan kicked the ball to Su Jianjun. Su Jianjun did not refuse and supported the ancient capital, walking crookedly. Everyone has at least two different selves. It's difficult to be a person, and even more difficult to be an advertising salesperson. Yuan sighed as she looked at Gu Jingjing's absent-minded back. Shen Jianghe felt a bit drunk when he saw Yuan, afraid that she would be like Gu Jingjing, so he took the initiative to ask to take her home. Jianghe, there is a principle that you must remember, whether it's doing business or drinking alcohol, always stay clear-headed. Yuan didn't ask him to deliver it, calmed down, waved her hand at him, and elegantly left as usual. Some people say that the advertising industry is like half the entertainment industry, playing different roles in different places. He doesn't deny it, but he just wants to be his true self. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Heart is higher than heaven. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Heart is higher than heaven. Swaying garden, with swaying trees and dim lighting. Lin Xia walked quickly into the community, arrived at her doorstep, and hurriedly took out the key to open the door. Just as I pushed open the door, I yelled with a gloomy face, Lin Ximeng. Lin Ximeng, come out. Lin Nanfang poked his head out of the kitchen and said, what's wrong? Did you get bitten by a dog? As soon as you entered the door, your horse was flying wildly. What kind of moth did you come up with? You go ask your little lover, why don't you let anyone live? It's just me. Lin Xia hurriedly sat on the sofa, then poured a glass of water and drank it like a cow's drink, with 2 lines leaking from the corner of her mouth. She pulled the tissue on the table, wiped it, and then crumpled it into a ball, throwing it into the trash can. Why is she angry with you? You both set out early and returned late, and didn't say much when we met. Lin Nanfang stood at the kitchen door with a spatula in hand. Lao Bei, you should go ask her, what do you always say to me? Humph. Lin Xia picked up the TV remote control and pressed the button fiercely. Lao Bei is a nickname given by Lin Xia to her father Lin Nanfang. Lin Nanfang is from the north and his father was a cadre who went south in the past. He came to Suiqing with his father. The people of Suiqing disdainfully refer to Mandarin speakers as Yankees, but Lin Xia dare not call her father so directly, so she calls him Yankees, in reverse. Are you annoyed? I'm reading a book. Lin Ximeng walked out of the room wearing pajamas. Lin Ximeng is still a junior student, and the course has ended. She is preparing her graduation thesis at home and is also considering her internship for the next semester. You tell her well, everyone says twins have a similar heart, but you two are better off. They argue when they meet. Lin Nanfang couldn't stand Lin Xia's appearance. Dad, if you cook your meal, she must be hungry. As soon as she gets hungry, her brain cells start to malfunction and she'll scold anyone she catches. Lin Ximeng gave her dad a look. I'm asking you, who is that Shen Jianghe from? Lin Xia stood up from the sofa, crossed her waist with one hand and pointed at her with the other, staring at her and bulging her cheeks. Shen Jianghe. I don't know him. Lin Ximeng's face was surprised and her voice was soft. She grabbed the remote control from Lin Xia's hand and turned off the TV. Are you saying you don't know each other? In Ningyan's place, because he resigned, Ningyan scolded me. Why did she scold me? It must be that Shen Jianghe bit me back before leaving. Today is bad, and it's because of him. The supervisor told me again. Why do I have him everywhere I go? I'm unlucky to meet him, this damn Yankee. Lin Xia spoke at an extremely fast pace in anger, clattering as she grabbed the remote control and pressed it with her backhand. This is Lin Xia blaming Shen Jianghe. She was the supervisor at Ningyan N's place at the time. Shen Jianghe resigned after working for a day, but couldn't hold on. Ningyan vented her anger on her, and Lin Xia felt very wronged. In a fit of anger, she also resigned. You're not watching, what's on TV? You're still so loud, you're not afraid to disturb others. Lin Shimen wanted to get the remote control again, but Lin Xia threw it aside. Stop pretending, then why does he call me Lin Shimen? Oh, by the way, he even talked about bicycles. So you didn't lose your bike. Lin Xia seems to have found a breakthrough point to refute Lin Shimen. You're talking about that person. Did you actually work at Ann's place? Did you meet him again? Do you have a lot of fate between you? Lin Shimen laughed and said that this city is so big, and it might be arranged by heaven to encounter it. Fate your head. I'm so angry. Lin Xia's gaze shot towards her like an arrow. This person stole my bike but still spoke hard. Fortunately, they ran into him and refuted him to the point of being exhausted, so they snatched the bike back. Lin Shimen remembered the bicycle incident that day. As for who it was, what it looked like, she knew nothing. She didn't even look at Shen Jianghe in the eye that day. You just make it up. You stole your bike and ran into it again, causing me to get stuck in my mouth while drinking water. How could there be such a coincidence in the world? Did you two fall in love and deliberately prank me? You. Lin Shimen became angry upon hearing this. Lin Xia didn't wait for her to finish speaking. She then resumed her topic, scratched her head, and continued, oh, no, you said he was stealing. That's right. It turns out that in Ningyan's company, he didn't have a phone. Not long after, he suddenly had a phone. As Lin Xia spoke, she seemed to be muttering to herself, you know, how could a migrant worker get a phone so quickly? Even my mother and Lao Bei can't afford it. Did they steal it again? Yes, he stole it. Lin Xia said, her voice rising again. You say, how can such a person enter the Suizhou newspaper? Sultan Qing rubbed his temples and walked out, just come back and make a fuss. Why are you making so much noise? I can't even work anymore. Old May, this person is sick. You take care of her, I'm going to read a book to save her trouble and trouble. Lin Shimen didn't want to argue with Lin Xia, so she entered the room. Lao Mei is the term used by Lin Shimen to refer to her mother, Sultan Qing. This term comes from Lin Nanfang's words. Lin Nanfang always says that her mother used to be beautiful, so it was adopted by Lin Shimen. Mom, I don't want to work there anymore. I'll go work at your place. Lin Xia ran over and hugged Su Donqing's neck, acting coquettishly. Can you calm down for a while and change jobs 3 or 4 times a year? You want to anger me. Sultan Qing pulled away her hand. I got scolded for no reason today, I really don't want to do it anymore. Lin Xia hugged Sultan Qing's arm again and shook it. You deserve it. Your sister is right, you are sick. For your job, I entrusted many people, but that's the Suizhou newspaper, and many people can't even get in if they want to. Su Donqing couldn't bear her coquettish and playful way of being intimate, so she shook her off. Lin Shimen is sick, and those who are sick look at those who are not sick and say they are sick. Which side are you on? Lin Xia murmured. I'm on the right side. Don't try to get my idea. If you want to join our unit, it's no use. Kill this heart as soon as possible, Sultan Qing pretended to angrily rebuke. The newspaper is good, but it's just a temporary worker. That reference room is the job of retired old ladies, and I'm really not suitable. Lin Shimen's voice is similar to praying. You have to do it this time, you have to do it if you don't. I entrusted someone. If you give up, how can I explain it to them? Su Donqing's tone stiffened again as she spoke. You said, if you had studied better and gone to college like your sister did, you wouldn't have been like this. A high school graduate who is arrogant and picky, even able to get along with a partner, doesn't even know what I did in my previous life, giving birth to someone like you. Sultan Qing tapped Lin Dia's forehead with his finger. You're just doing it yourself, it's all your habit. Lin Nanfang brought out a plate of dumplings from the kitchen and placed them on the table. Lao Bei, who are you talking about? I'm used to it, what can you do? If you have the ability, go find me a better job. Lin Xia felt uncomfortable when her mother said a few words, so she took the opportunity to vent her anger on her father. Lin Shiman walked out of the room at this moment, holding a hanger and angrily pointing at her. I'll just eat dumplings, I'm really hungry. Lin Xia hesitated instantly when she saw that Lin Shiman was going to be tough. This family is like this, making a lot of noise every day. Lin Shiman and Lin Xia are twins, but their personalities are vastly different. Lin Nanfang often talks about Sultan Qing for his daughter, and thus the family is divided into two factions. Lin Nanfang and Lin Shiman, and Sultan Qing and Lin Xia. The two factions cannot tolerate each other. Advertising Department of Suizhou Urban Daily. In the morning, a large group of people still gathered at the office slots in the lobby, eating breakfast and joking. Little rich woman, when will you take us to a high-end place? Tian rushed into the office, saw the Xiaolong Bao in the plastic bag in front of Xiao Hohat, grabbed one and put it in his mouth. Since Chu Hanfeng took everyone to the coronation platform once, many people have been longing for this kind of occasion. Xiao Hohat claims to be a little rich woman and has earned some money from advertising. She says that this amount of money is not much, and she wants to buy a house, but she also says that after buying a house, she has nothing left. If she doesn't have money, she has no sense of security. Grandma, are your claws clean? Scratching randomly. Xiao Hohat hit him. Not clean, not sick after eating, Tian Chong said and quickly grabbed another one. It's just his mother's salty pig hands. Xiao Hohat gave him another beating and suddenly saw Shen Jianghe. She quickly changed to a gentle tone and said, little pretty boy, do you want to eat steamed buns? Lao Shen, the little rich lady has 2 steamed buns here. Do you want to try them? Tian Chong smiled maliciously. Fuck you. Xiao Hohat scolded Tian Chong for a moment, then looked at Shen Jianghe, seemingly giggling with ulterior motives. She is taller than most girls, but her voice is as gentle when talking and laughing as a little girl. Tian Chong always says she has a feminine touch. She said she got divorced and had a daughter living with her. Shen Jianghe just smiled at them and Yang bought breakfast outside, which can be considered as a response. He doesn't like their ambiguous jokes very much. The sudden collapse of Gu Jingjing last night, who had put in a lot of effort but was unable to change the situation, gave him a warning that he needed to take action as soon as possible. Jianghe, you need to be sociable, relax, and work will be easier. Yuan smiled at him when she saw that he was a bit shy. Having breakfast and going online, he remembered the words Xiang Jing had told him not to be independent, so he had to be careful when dealing with them. He turned around and walked towards them with a smile, calm and composed. Jianghe. As she passed by Xiang Jing's seat, she whispered to him. He just nodded politely and sat calmly between Xiao Hohat and Yuan, under their gaze. Oh, Liangzi, you're really capable. You want to hug me left and right, Xiao Hohat burst out laughing. Yuan was somewhat surprised. Elder sister, your steamed bun is beautiful. I don't know whether it's delicious or not. It's just a little small. Come on, eat the deep fried dough sticks I bought. He still smiled, no longer blushing. He looked calm and composed, causing Xiao Hohat to look down at her chest with a serious expression. Xiao Liangzi, I didn't notice it, it's a sultry type. Xiao Hohat then took the opportunity to snuggle up. He extended his arm and naturally blocked her, then picked up a bun in front of her and started eating it as if no one was around. Yuan covered her mouth and smiled inexplicably on the side. How about it? The advertising department is full of experts. Don't be fooled by Lao Shen's honest appearance, it's really hard to judge his appearance. Tian Chong watched the play beside him. This is good, this is good. Xiao Hohat's face turned red. People have a dual nature potential, and it depends on whether they will burst out. Just like how they used to feel unsuitable for business, once their potential is stimulated, it can still be impressive. After graduating from university, he returned to his hometown to work in the township government for a year, serving as a civil affairs assistant and collaborating with the family planning office. If it were really a joke, Xiao Hohat and the women from the family planning office would be nothing compared. Shen Jianghe was too lazy to be bored and joke with them, quickly finished his meal, stood up, and walked away. Interesting, very flavorful, Xiao Hohat looked at his figure and whispered to Yuan. Is the second spring here? Yuan looked at her with an indescribable expression in her eyes. Fuck you. Xiao Hohat nudged her with her elbow. That old Su is not something. He actually put Gu Jingjing on the bed last night, Yu Jiangnan whispered to Tian Chong in a somewhat disheartened tone. He said he called Su Jianjun last night and was told by old Su himself. Are you sorry? Last night, Lao Shen asked you to send it, but you didn't send it. It's a pity that it's cheaper than Lao Su. It's really his mother flower inserted in cow dung. Tian Chong's voice was already loud, and when he said this, all his colleagues in the department knew. I just said, there were a few fewer people in the office today, and you guys don't have any good things. You guys didn't even call me after drinking yesterday, Xiao Hohat scolded with a smile. Just because Xiao Hohat and Chu Hanfeng walked too close, Yu Jiangnan deliberately didn't call her last night. Everyone, the new business card is out. Now I'm sending it to everyone. Hurry up and go out and do business. Tang Wenwu walked in with a large bag of business cards in his hand. Tang Wenwu's work efficiency is really high. Last night, he arranged for the newspaper printing factory to print the business card overnight. Everyone immediately surrounded Tang Wenwu upon hearing this. Don't snatch, come one by one, Tang Wenwu shouted loudly. Shen Jianghe heard a cry and walked out of the office, seeing everyone boiling up. The title on each person's business card is prominently printed with the words, Director. The boss concept mentioned by Chu Hanfeng yesterday once again caused a shock in everyone's heart. After all, this is an official appointment made in black and white, that's really a feeling. In addition, Gu Jingjing and another colleague have resigned. If there is a job that needs to be handed over, you can directly contact them, Tang Wenwu continued. Isn't it? Su Jianjun also resigned. That's not true. This old Su, holding a beautiful woman back, didn't even attend class. Women don't get drunk, men don't have a chance. This old Su is too good at taking advantage of loopholes. After chattering a few words, everyone looked at the two vacant seats and suddenly fell silent, with a somewhat sad atmosphere. Since Chu Hanfeng was transferred to the advertising department, he has been recruiting and hiring. This is the first time someone has voluntarily resigned, and everyone understands the reason behind it. Poor advertisers, everyone's hearts are as high as sky, but their lives are thinner than paper. In the silence, Tian Chong shouted. Damn it, it's just your mouth that owes you, it's just your pity, it's just your little life that's not worth it. Yuan suddenly got angry and grabbed a pen and threw it fiercely at Tian Chong. Advertisers are like dragons and phoenixes among people, the elites among the elites. When the waves wash away the sand, it depends on who laughs the last. Tang Wenwu quickly said, seeing that everyone's emotions were a bit off. Run the business. Xiao Hohat stood up. After all, everyone still has the warmth of a director in their hearts, and everyone's confidence as a boss is still so abundant. The inner heat was once again driven, and everyone began to pack their things and prepare to visit customers. This is the first time in many days that a salesperson has disappeared from the advertising department office. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. A person walking towards a long street. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. A person walking towards a long street. The plan cannot keep up with the changes, and the crying of Gu Jingjing, who is unwilling to accept the status quo and unable to turn back, has been lingering in his mind. Coupled with the approaching summer vacation, many institutions have started planning enrollment. Shen Jianghe quickly adjusted his deployment and couldn't miss this golden season. Time is precious every day, so he decided to take action during the day and check information at night. His goals for today are the two key clients he has initially identified, namely the School of Management at City Radio and Television University and Shuiqing University. He inquired with Yu Jiangnan last night. It's not good to buy a bicycle. It's a bit old and can be ridden, otherwise it's easy to get stolen. Yu Jiangnan said he lost several bicycles before. Shen Jianghe experienced the last bicycle incident and adopted his opinion. Don't be kicked out by the clients. Yu Jiangnan smiled and said he had been kicked out several times by the clients. Isn't it? He was surprised. What Yu Jiangnan does is medical advertising, mostly for mobile doctors, whose advertisements seriously deviate from the boundaries of advertising approval, and some even have no advertising approval at all. The three major newspapers disdain to publish, and such clients are still so horizontal. What would be the situation for the enrollment agency they are responsible for? Treat yourself as a courier, delivering newspapers every day, giving birth to two familiar people. Yu Jiangnan suggested to him. It has been over a year since he came to Shuiqing, but he is not familiar with this city. He bought a rundown bicycle, bought a map, rode for a while, then stopped and looked at the map. Walking and stopping, it was quite troublesome, so he decided to find a stone stool with tree shade and sit down, carefully checking his route. He heard an unusually sharp sound. Looking up, not far away, two motorcycle riders were grabbing a necklace from the neck of a woman riding a bicycle. It was probably because the necklace was too strong, and it took 1 or 2 seconds to pull before it broke. This type of motorcycle robbery is known as the motorcycle gang. When I used to run business in an advertising company, I also saw that as long as I ran outside every day, anything could happen. I saw the woman who was robbed fall to the ground with both a person and a car. When the woman got up, the person grabbing the necklace turned the front of the car. He quickly pulled down a bamboo pole next to a newly planted tree and ran over without even thinking about the situation. Damn X, you're still wearing a fake, poor guy. The flying car party threw the necklace in their hand onto the woman's face. Seemingly unwilling, he reached out to the bag hanging on the bicycle. Shen Jianghe let out a loud roar and swung the bamboo pole accurately into the hands of the flying car party. Seeing someone helping, the flying car party quickly increased the throttle and ran away. In this city, people are so indifferent to each other. If you see an outlaw in the north, the old man and lady next to you will definitely rush forward without hesitation. Shen Jianghe saw the woman fall to the ground again due to inertia, so he quickly went over and helped her up. Is everything okay? He asked and was surprised to find that the bike looked a bit familiar. It's you. It's exactly Lin Shimen who said he stole a bicycle last time. I saw her face devoid of blood, her legs trembling, and in the midst of terror, she seemed unconscious. Is there anything wrong? He saw a strangulation on her snow-white neck, with blood streaking out. She still didn't respond, and a bunch of long dresses were covered in a few pieces of dust. If you have nothing to do, just leave. These people may come back. He was worried, as these racing enthusiasts were constantly changing. She heard this sentence clearly and immediately realized it. Ignoring it, she pushed her bike and walked away. Look at the car. He grabbed the back frame of her bike. I saw a large truck roaring past, rolling over the ground and vibrating incessantly. It's so close. He breathed a sigh of relief. After 2 consecutive scares, she seemed to be unable to stand steadily. He took the front of the car she was holding, helped her sit on the tailstock, pushed her away from the place, walked far, and found a stone stool. He stopped and helped her sit on the stone bench. Her face only then turned a little red. He took out a bottle of water from his bag and looked at it. He had only bought a bottle of water from the nearby newsstand, unscrewed the bottle cap, and handed it to her. "Thank you," she said weakly. "No other injuries, right?" he asked again. She shook her head. "That's good, take a few sips of water and it will be fine in a while." He stood beside her for a long time, but neither of them spoke. "Do you want me to take you back?" She shook her head again. "Do you know Lin Xia from Suizhou newspaper? Or can I call her and ask her to pick you up?" He confirmed that she was related to Lin Xia, just trying to probe. He can transfer the group's switchboard to the data room and find Lin Xia. She still shook her head. Then she stood up, took a few steps, and moved around without any abnormalities. "This is my business card. If you need anything in the future, you can come to me." This is the first director's business card of Suizhou City Daily that he sent out. She took the business card and politely looked at it without saying anything. He took out his phone and checked the time. He had to arrive at the City Radio and Television University before leaving work in the morning. Perhaps his action reminded her that she pushed the bike, walked slowly for a few steps, turned around and said thank you again, then walked the bike crookedly for a while before finally getting steady. Time was a bit tight, so he found his bike and ran towards the City Radio and Television University. The entrance of City Radio and Television University was unobstructed. He entered the office building and found the admissions director's office on the first floor. He tidied up his appearance, took out a newspaper and his business card from his pocket, and knocked on the door. After hearing someone inside say please come in, he pushed open the door and walked in. "Director, hello. Excuse me, I'm from Suizhou Urban Daily. I'll send you a newspaper to take a look at." He walked up to his desk and handed the newspaper over. The director is a middle-aged woman, looking shrewd and capable, with a lingering charm. "Sending newspapers." She hesitated and took the newspaper, flipping through it casually. Just as she flipped through the newspaper, he quickly glanced at the business card on the corner of her desk, which showed Director Sudan Youth. "Director Su, this is my business card." He respectfully handed over his own business card. Sudan Qing took the business card again with confusion and looked at it. It showed that there was an advertising department on the card, and he suddenly became furious. "It's advertising again, get out." She snapped, looking at him with sharp eyes and casually throwing the newspaper and business card at him. "Sorry to bother you." He didn't expect her attitude to change so quickly, still smiling as he picked up newspapers and business cards scattered on the ground and apologized repeatedly. Then, in her angry gaze, she neatly placed the newspaper and her business card at the corner of her desk. "Don't come in the future. This newspaper and that TV station come several times a day, and you still don't allow me to work." She probably felt a bit awkward, and her tone was a bit calm. He still smiled, bowed out, and closed the door. With Yu Jiangnan's psychological preparation for being kicked out by clients, he was not without joy. Today's goal was achieved, and knowing the name of the admissions director would be great. Sultan Qing asked himself not to come next time, but that's not possible. This is his job, and it's impossible not to come. What will happen then? Give yourself another stern reprimand. And then let the security guard kick him out. Will Gu Jingjing lose his direction after being rejected by clients like he does now when he resigns? If, as Gu Jingjing said, newspapers have no circulation and no advertising effect, and then they shrink back. If there is circulation and effectiveness, then does the advertising department still need to be a novice themselves? Thinking like this, like watching a TV drama, he was looking forward to the plot of the next episode, which was a bit exciting for him. Refuse, accept rejection, and try to change the situation. This may be his future norm as an advertising salesperson. As the saying goes, in order to grow, one must constantly face problems, solve them in order to reap rewards, and grow with rewards. Noon is the most difficult time to endure. It's not the right time to visit clients again. I have to go to Shuiqing University in the afternoon. While pondering, my phone rang from my waist. Today is my first day running business, and I can't be a customer. My phone number is only known to my colleagues in the advertising department. He looked at his phone and felt that the number was a bit familiar. Shen Jianghe, come over here. He answered, and it took him a long time to recognize Ning Ainen's voice. I'm working. He was a bit happy. Did she find her graduation diploma? You promised me. Her tone was so harsh that it was not negotiable. He could tell that it was not asking him to get his documents, but that she was holding on to the purpose behind her diploma. Last time when he had no choice, he had to promise her. This reminded him of 3 things in martial arts novels where Zhao Min asked Zhang Wuji to agree to her. Just because her diploma is in her hands, is she holding on to me like this? Is it break time now? Now. Ning Ainen hung up the phone. How could this woman be like this? The identity of the former boss is exactly like that of an ex-girlfriend. Is that also in the past tense? Do you still want to create a future tense? Anyway, there's nowhere to go at noon. It's not far from here to her side. He decided to go over and see which song she wanted to sing. In front of beautiful girls, men's tolerance may exceed their imagination. Ningen is much more enthusiastic than before. When he entered her office, he found that she had already brewed tea and even ordered a takeout for him. Didn't you eat? Roasted goose, it tastes good. Ning Ainen placed a cup of tea in front of him and pointed to takeout. Roasted goose is a delicacy in Shuiqing cuisine. Shen Jianghe is a stranger and is not used to the food here. However, he has a special fondness for roasted goose, which is a bit expensive. He only occasionally makes a tooth sacrifice. You tell me, what's going on? Where's my diploma? He just realized that he was already hungry. Although it was fast food, he understood that taking people with soft hands and eating them with short mouths. Let's talk after dinner. You should start with that. The two exchanged glances for a while. The magazine is about to be published, and there are still a few pages left. Ning Ainen could only explain the reason. Mr. Ning, are you joking? Shen Jianghe was stunned upon hearing this. She really dares to say such a thing. Since the last time she took her ID card, she has condescended to beg herself, but now she's doing well. She doesn't even ask and just gives the order. There's no way, you have to help me. Ning Ainen finally said help, but it was clear that her underlying line was whether she needed a diploma or not. The ID card can be reissued, but it is difficult to reissue the graduation certificate. But her request was to help her run her business. To put it bluntly, it was a part-time job, which he couldn't accept. She had just entered this industry, and whether she could do it or not was also related to her professional cultivation. I can't do this. He stood up and wanted to leave. What are you in a hurry? Using your spare time doesn't affect your work or harm the interests of the newspaper. I beg you, Ningen said softly. You begged me. I dare not take this seriously. I have begged you n times, but which time have you taken me seriously? Shen Jianghe's mouth was hard on the surface, but his heart was hesitating. You can sit down first before we talk. Actually, this matter may be beneficial to you. She waved to him and played a trick. What are the benefits, he thought to himself, using money to pass the time. I am short of money, but what I lack is not this kind of money. You haven't been doing business for long, and seeing how successful you have been now, you can further exercise yourself. Isn't it better to have an extra sense of achievement? Ning Ainen's words seem reasonable. He is a bit excited. He really needs to experience in many ways. Both of them belong to advertising, and many of them are interlinked. Can you tell me specifically what to do? He sat down and drank a cup of tea. Ning said that the customer information is already made, and the salesperson has met with the boss several times, but I don't know which link went wrong and has been sitting there. Eat. Don't think I'm just a sugar-coated bullet. You used to work a day's shift with me before, so I'll give you my salary to buy it. Ning could see his thoughts. With this statement, he didn't feel so uncomfortable anymore. He needed to give himself an explanation and a reason for something. With a clear mind, there would be no problem. He was no longer polite and indulged in it. Jianghe, every time I see you during this period, you have made progress. Now, you are really different from when you first came to our company. Ning felt happy. This is what she said to herself. Just this once, let's not do it again. He drew a red line for her. Sugar-coated bullets and sweet words, now she simply calls herself Jianghe. He doesn't want to have more connections with her in the future. Okay. She smiled comfortably in front of her for the first time. You look better when you smile, he joked half-truthfully. As the sun set, he wearily returned to the newspaper office and went to the School of Management at Shuiqing University in the afternoon. After all, the security guard didn't even let him in. He had no choice but to squat and wait, hoping to occasionally meet the dean, but apart from the agony in his heart, he achieved nothing else. This didn't affect his mood at all. He suddenly agreed with Ning words that he couldn't compare. He found that since becoming an advertising salesman, he has indeed undergone a revolutionary change, which is that his face has become thicker and his body and mind have become more and more resilient. Returning to the newspaper office, he had to continue working. He borrowed the bound copies of the 3 major newspapers from the reference room and kept them in the office. As long as he returned, he could check them at any time. Shen Jianghe took the initiative to ask him to share the burden and help check the information, but he politely refused. This kind of work cannot be done by others. Shen Jianghe remained silently by his side, which moved him a bit. Last time I was scolded by Chu Hanfeng not to speak his hometown dialect in the office, but Shen Jianghe still went his own way and chatted with him in his hometown dialect. This gave him some comfort in his heart. Being in a foreign land adds a touch of warmth to the local accent. You go back, he urged her again as it was already very late. Anyway, it's okay, I'll live upstairs. Shen Jianghe was very stubborn. The upstairs of the office is the 20th floor, which is a collective dormitory specially arranged by the group for night shift editors for free. Only Yan Zi, the advertising layout editor, is qualified to live in the advertising department. This indicates that Chu Hanfeng still used some privileges. When Shen Jianghe said this, he suddenly remembered the word supervisor in his heart. He knew that since entering the advertising department, Shen Jianghe had been more concerned about herself, so she naturally did not mean to be a supervisor. However, due to Chu Hanfeng's influence, he had to act carefully. It was already 1 o'clock in the cold morning, and he couldn't bear to let Shen Jianghe accompany him like this anymore. He had to finish work and work as a postman tomorrow morning. After leaving the compound, the broad Shuiqing Avenue in front of me was still brightly lit as day, but with fewer vehicles, there was a feeling of emptiness. There is no bus now, so he can only walk back. Walking on the street, he suddenly feels a bit sad and a song plays in his mind. Walking alone towards a long street, end of this chapter. Chapter 8. Temptation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Temptation. Lin Nanfang returned home from work and watched Lin Xia sit on the sofa, watching TV while chewing cookies like a squirrel. He extended his head to look at the kitchen. It was dark and brightly lit. You don't know how to cook when you come back. You're always eating and lazy. Lin Nanfang looked at Lin Xia and felt a little angry. Lin Xia just glanced at him, didn't speak, and still focused on eating. Lin Nanfang walked to Lin Shimeng's room and knocked on the door, but there was no sound inside. After hesitating for a moment, he opened the door and turned on the light. I saw Lin Shimeng curling up on the bed with a blanket in her arms, her hair fluffy and messy, her eyes stunned, and her expression somewhat uneasy. "What's wrong, girl?" He noticed something unusual about his daughter. Thinking she was sick, she walked over and touched her forehead, saying, "It's not burning, why did you cover the blanket?" Lin Shimeng grabbed his arm and leaned her head over. "What's wrong with you? What's wrong?" Lin Nanfang asked anxiously. "Dad, I almost can't see you today." "I was robbed and almost crashed," Lin Shimeng said quietly. "Ah. Did you get hurt? Let me see." Lin Nanfang was shocked and hugged her shoulder with both hands. "It's okay, I'm really okay, I was saved by someone." Lin Shimeng forced a smile as she saw her father so worried. After speaking, he pretended to easily extend his arm, then untied the scarf on his neck and said, "It's just a slight strangulation of the neck, skin injury, not a problem." Fortunately, they didn't snatch my bag, but inside it was my graduation thesis that I had prepared for a long time. Lin Shimeng looked at her father's affectionate gaze and told him bit by bit. "Do you know who that person is? You have to thank them well." Lin Nanfang felt relieved after confirming that she was okay for a while. She shook her head and nodded again. "Last time, I scolded Shen Jianghe for stealing her bike. I didn't give an explanation, so I took the bike back. But now he has saved me, and she hasn't figured out how to tell him. Returning home at noon, I had originally wanted to take a nap, calm my mind, and turn this matter over. However, I didn't know that I had a series of nightmares. What happened during the day was a bit vague at the time, like a dream, but now it is vividly remembered and clearer." "Are you hungry? What do you want to eat?" "Dad will make it for you," Lin Nanfang asked with concern. "I love eating whatever you do," I said to my dad, feeling a little relieved. "Don't tell the Americans, so they won't make a fuss." "Alright, I got it, I'll go cook." Lin Nanfang hurriedly walked into the kitchen. Sudan Qing walked out of the room and walked to the kitchen door, shaking her neck. "When will there be food to eat? Can you hurry up?" Sudan Qing urged. "You guys come back first, no one cooks, they just sit there waiting to be fed," Lin Nanfang said deftly, holding a spatula. "I'm busy right now. I'm going on vacation soon, and my enrollment plan hasn't been done yet." Su Danqing shook her neck and turned towards the living room. "You are all busy, only I am idle," Lin Nanfang said impatiently in the kitchen. "You too, you can't lend a hand, just know how to eat snacks," Su Danqing said as she looked at Lin Xia. "I'm exhausted every day, and I don't have time to sit. These people, after searching for information, don't put it back in its original form, organize it, register it. It's so annoying," Lin Xia complained. "You're also called tired. If you were to run a business, you would be exposed to the sun and rain outside every day, making you look like a monkey." Sultan Qing sat on the sofa, scolding his daughter. Okay, Mom, just let me run the business. That's so much freedom." Lin Xia took it seriously. "Are you okay to say that you're going to work and run business at an An's place? Why didn't you quit?" Su Danqing was not angry. That broken company in Ning'an might go bankrupt one day. If it weren't for that Shen Jianghe, how would I have left? Lin Xia looked disdainful. "If you can't do it yourself, you can still rely on others. Let you go to the Suizhou City Daily in your group, a small newspaper that few people have read. If your group is strong, can you do it well?" Sudan Qing did not notice that Lin Xia mentioned the Xinjiang River. Okay, go talk to me quickly and transfer me over." Lin Xia was a bit excited. "Who do you think you are? Are you still being transferred? I just entered the probation period and haven't even passed yet. I really think it's easy to come up with something. Sudan Qing didn't expect her to be serious. Isn't that what you said? I'm just using an analogy. Okay, then when my probation period is over, you can have someone arrange for me to transfer, Lin Xia said with a bit of pride. I've been bothering you all day. I'll marry you out earlier. If you don't want to stay, stay and stay will become enemies. You'll be scheming your mother all day long. Sultan Qing didn't expect Lin Xia to really be interested. Mom, I don't want to get married, so I'll stay by your side and be with you, Lin Xia leaned over. If you don't get married, do you still want someone else to marry you? Who would be willing just like you? How about hiring a Yankee for you? Sudan Qing joked. Who are you cursing at? I'm so busy here, you guys have no time to curse. Lin Nanfang cooked a plate of vegetables and brought it out, just as he heard the words, Yankees. I didn't mention you. Sudan Qing turned back and said, all right, no, I'm starving to death. I'll be ready soon. Even the Yankees are good, as long as they have money, they can be more handsome than the Old North, Lin Xia whispered. Get out of here. The more you say, the more outrageous it becomes. Sultan Qing stood up and walked into the kitchen. Shen Jianghe really wants to know how these clients who refuse him will accept him and how he will sign the first contract. For salespeople, the newspaper's assessment is result-oriented, but they now have a strong curiosity and are fully enjoying the process. Although the process can be very tortuous and quite torturous. The next day, he confidently arrived at the Sultan's office, knocked on the door, and then walked in. Why are you here again? Sultan Qing didn't wait for him to speak. Sorry, Director Su. This is my job and I'm just passing by. By the way, I'll show you today's newspaper and I won't disturb your work. In fact, he was not passing by, but on a special trip, not a lie, but a language strategy he had to choose because he didn't want to provoke her at work. That day in the office, Chu Hanfeng asked about his work situation. Chu Hanfeng told him to be bold. These bosses have their own struggles, otherwise they wouldn't sit in this position and they might understand the salesperson. People all have emotions, and perhaps some of their relatives and friends are also engaged in this field of work. Okay, put it there. Sultan Qing's tone was quite ordinary. This made Shen Jianghe extremely happy. He had only been here for the second time, and the attitude of Sultan Qing changed so quickly that his goal was achieved ahead of schedule. He thought he would go through it many times. Salespeople are like this, changing with changes in customer emotions, giving a little sunshine makes it brilliant, and giving a little river water makes it flood. But Shen Jianghe was too happy too early. The change in Sultan Qing's attitude towards him was not due to a change in his perception of urban newspapers, but because of her daughter Lin Xia. Yesterday, after she got angry and drove Shen Jianghe away, she remembered that the Suizhou Urban Daily was a newspaper under the Suizhou Daily, and her daughter also worked in that unit. From a certain perspective, Shen Jianghe was her daughter's colleague, and she couldn't be so harsh with her daughter's colleagues. In addition, last night she made an analogy. Lin Xia said she wanted to work in the urban newspaper. Although she didn't want her daughter to engage in such a job, according to Lin Xia's personality of saying that wind is wind and rain is rain, she couldn't be sure, so she decided to leave away first. She did this, but it gave Shen Jianghe an incentive. Shen Jianghe was simply excited. After coming out of Radio and Television University, he excitedly headed straight to the School of Management at Suizhou University. It's not just a small spark obtained from the TV university that can start a prairie fire here at Suiqing University, but rather it extinguishes that spark in one go. Suiqing University is well known, and the entrance of the university is open to entry and exit. However, the security guard at the entrance of the management college is much more responsible than the security guard at Suizhou Daily. They refuse to allow entry and ask the security guard to deliver the newspaper to the dean on their behalf. Unless otherwise instructed by the leader, the security personnel clearly indicate. He was still crouching as he was yesterday, not knowing who the dean's surname and name were, and his appearance was even more unclear. Moreover, some of them were driven in and there was no way to find the dean. There's no way, he just took out his phone and called according to the phone number in the newspaper. Hello. This is the EMBA consultation hotline of the School of Management at Shuiqing University. May I ask what you would like to inquire about? The other person answered the phone. I'm looking for your dean. Sorry, the dean is not working here. I am a reporter from Suizhou Daily and would like to interview your dean. There is no other way, he can only use the name of the main reporter. Sorry, we are not responsible for reception here. Could you please find the college office? What is the phone number over there? Who can I contact? Sorry, we're not sure on our end. Shen Jianghe hung up the phone, completely losing his temper. This is his key customer, and he won't give up on it. Now the entire advertising department, including Chu Hanfeng, does not have a computer, and even the editorial department is shared by several people on the same computer. In that era, computers were also known as microcomputers or computers. When he was in college, he learned a little in the computer room of the school in order to edit layout. Before coming to Suizhou, he heard that the economy here was developed and computers were very popular. He went to the computer training class of the Labor Bureau for 2 months. But when I came to Suizhou province, computers were not as popular as the outside world rumored. Until now, I have been in Suizhou for several years and have never touched a computer. I don't know if I will still be able to do it. He searched for a long time and finally found an internet cafe. After searching on his computer, he still couldn't find what he wanted to know. He had to go to the post office and send the newspaper and his business card to the dean by express delivery. The only way he could go now was this one. He suddenly became extremely anxious. He immediately realized that these educational enrollment institutions have strong seasonality and planning. Once the advertisement is published in the 3 major newspapers and then contacted, it will be too late and only wait for next year. As Yuan said, salespeople are like wolves, and now the air is filled with a smell of blood. They need to find the right direction, cast nets everywhere, and focus on catching fish. No matter how weak the urban newspaper is, it still has its competitive edge for survival. Everything has a probability, and the more customers you see every day, the greater the chance of success. He drove at full speed and ran around, which was the biggest test for him at this moment. Chu Hanfeng once said that doing business is similar to dating, you need to put your heart into it. In the midst of passionate running, he forced himself to calm down. After meeting each client, he took some time to leverage his strengths as a former teacher, analyze and summarize, and then make decisions. He cannot be like Xiao Hohat said, only in love and not in marriage. In this way, he will only become a stranger in this industry like in ancient Beijing. He can't repeat the same mistakes. He quickly adjusted his direction again, focusing entirely on educational institutions for academic qualifications, but he couldn't ignore other institutions such as beauty and hairdressing schools and educational training. He needed to find a helper. Xiang Jing is the best candidate. He just wants to help Jing mail newspapers to customers every day, so that they can first understand and increase their stickiness with these customers. He explained his idea and request to Xiang Jing. No problem, it's a small matter. Xiang Jing was very happy and willing to share the burden with him. This may increase your workload a lot, he couldn't bear it to some extent. There are too many training institutions in Shuiqing, which means that each customer has to mail dozens of envelopes every day and have to deliver them to the designated mailing point specified by the group, which is time-consuming and laborious. I am a clerk, and my responsibility is to assist you with your work. Don't worry, I'll do things for you. Xiang Jing didn't hesitate at all. I know she works hard, but there is no other way now. He has also identified some key clients, which are aristocratic schools. Most of these schools are located in the suburbs and have remote roads. It's great to be able to go to one school in half a day to achieve the set goals. This takes a long time, so he decided to meet and get to know each other first, and then communicate over the phone later. The so-called aristocratic schools refer to students who enter these schools and first need to pay a deposit of around 300,000 yuan, with monthly fees ranging from several thousand yuan. And all schools are under closed military management, with no cash circulating on campus. With only one card, any student who eats, what they eat, what time they eat, and when they go to bed and wake up will enter the school's management system. Teachers and life counselors can easily check and see. The education, teaching, and management of life in the school have made him, who has taught books before, feel unbelievable. He has never thought of such a management model, which can be said to be somewhat fascinating. What surprised Shen Jianghe was that they did not refuse the media at all, even as an advertising salesman. The school leaders were too enthusiastic, taking him on a tour and holding a formal meeting, taking each step seriously as if going through the process. To his surprise, none of these schools wanted him to stay and teach at them. A monthly salary of 4,000 yuan for the first 3 years of salary, and 6,000 yuan per month for the following 3 years, including food and housing, with a double salary at the end of the year. After 5 years, one can obtain housing with their own property rights for free. This is the most favorable condition offered by Dongqing School. This school is affiliated with the real estate developer Dongqing Shijio Group. The school is located in the hot spring area, and all teachers and students use hot spring water for their daily toiletries. I heard that the group will build the largest villa complex in Sui City around the school, and construction will start soon. This condition is quite tempting. He used to teach in this province for less than 400 yuan per month, but now the basic monthly salary for urban newspapers is only 800 yuan. Apart from food, drink, and sleep, there are also transportation and communication expenses. After calculating them all, he still needs to pay back. But he knows that as an advertising salesman, one must resist temptation. Advertising salespeople usually come into contact with the middle and senior management of the enterprise, and the enterprise is generally relatively well developed. These enterprises are extremely attractive to many people. Shen Jianghe can be said to have little career planning. After graduating from university, he wanted to become an official and entered the township government in his hometown. When he found out that it was not what he needed, he came to teach in Suizhou province. However, as a teacher from another province, his grades did not receive recognition from local leaders. Then I came to Suiqing to work as a children's screenwriter, but I didn't write a script that truly belonged to my own copyright. All of this, he considered himself a failure. Leaving after failure seems to have a sense of shirking responsibility, which will definitely have a negative impact on one's future career and career psychology. Even if resigning, one should still leave with a successful mindset, which he has summarized and strictly demanded of himself. Leaving in the face of these temptations now is failure, staying is the only way to succeed. Water flows lower, while people walk higher. I am currently on a parallel line, so switching jobs on a parallel line usually does not yield good results. Success is the height, and he cannot help but resist these temptations. He believes he can succeed. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Fox Tale. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Fox Tale. There are many advertisements for Dongqing School, and its group's planning goal is to use the school to drive the sales of real estate, with the main target audience being the children of the residents. The principal told him that the school's enrollment advertisements contain elements of buildings, and the advertisements of buildings also incorporate information about the school, but the appeal points are different. You still need to contact the group, said the manager in charge of enrollment planning at the school. Our enrollment plans need to be submitted to the group for approval. The school has already communicated with the publicity specialist, planning manager, vice principal in charge, and principal, and the final decision is still made by the group. After leaving Dongqing School, he headed straight to Dongqing Shijio Group, which is located by the South River, known as Eastern Manhattan, not far from the newspaper office. Do you have an appointment? The front desk heard that he was looking for Ting Xiao and asked. Ting Xiao is the marketing director of Dongqing Shijio Group. No, I just came over from the school and was recommended by the principal. He wanted to borrow the principal's name. Sorry, you can't go in without an appointment, the receptionist refused. He was about to fight for it when he saw Su Jianjun walking out of it. What are you doing here? Su Jianjun felt a bit strange when he saw him. Meet the client. Shen Jianghe knew that he was currently responsible for real estate advertising and was happy to meet colleagues with the client. Isn't it? This is my responsibility, how could you get in the way? Su Jianjun was a bit unhappy, as if Shen Jianghe had snatched his things. It's not contradictory. You're in charge of your real estate, and I'm in charge of my school. Maybe we can work together to achieve the best of both worlds. Shen Jianghe did not notice his displeased expression. Who did you contact? Ting Xiao. Ting Xiao. We have a good relationship, just saw her. Su Jianjun's voice suddenly became louder as if he had been bitten by something. That's good, you need to help. Shen Jianghe thought simply, colleagues should help each other. Do you think it's appropriate? The same newspaper is following the same person, which is a waste of resources. Su Jianjun strongly disagrees with his viewpoint. Waste. Shen Jianghe just gave him a serious glance, and his meaning was as clear as ever. He was purely adding to his troubles here. As the saying goes, thin fields are left uncultivated, while fertile fields are contested. Nowadays, the urban newspaper is still a barren land, and it's just that we accidentally met on a narrow path. Old Su, you can't define it this way either. Let's each do our own thing, and we'll all go our separate ways. Shen Jianghe put away his smile. You can't just pee in one place like animals, just mark it as your own territory. If the school's plan is not reported, how can Ting Xiao approve it? Hee. It's easy to say, easy to say. Su Jianjun laughed when he saw that he was serious, saying that the two of them would work together in the future. This is the situation that Shen Jianghe expects. What's going on? Are you in love with Gu Jingjinglang? Shen Jianghe thought he had figured it out and didn't pay attention to his emotions just now, making a joke. I also blame myself for being too stingy in my heart. That's for sure, Su Jianjun felt somewhat proud. A flower from the advertising department was easily pinched away by him, but he took advantage of the situation and made cooked rice from raw rice. Shen Jianghe looked down on him a bit, but the small details between men were not so difficult to understand. But he always felt that Su Jianjun was a bit strange. Su Jianjun spoke with a hint of local accent. Previously, Shen Jianghe thought he was his fellow villager, and when asked several times, he firmly denied it. But Xiang Jing made it clear that the advertising department, except for Tang Wenwu, Yu Jiangnan, and Yuan Yuan, are all from Qujiang. He doesn't want to admit, what is he trying to conceal? According to him, he originally had a stall that sold mobile phones, and only came to the city to register after transferring the stall. Now is the era of the explosion of this communication tool, where you can make money by closing your eyes when you have a stall. Is it not good management to transfer the stall? Being able to achieve this level is indeed a talent nowadays. The matter is not that simple. Su Jianjun just set off a smoke bomb in front of Shen Jianghe, and he won't stop. In his eyes, Shen Jianghe was just touching his cheese. Shen Jianghe found nothing at Dongqing Shijio Group, so he had to go around the surrounding schools to see how it was getting late before returning to the newspaper office. Encountered Chu Hanfeng returning home from work at the entrance of the courtyard. How is Dongqing school now? I heard we're going to place an order. Chu Hanfeng called out to him. Place an order. Shen Jianghe suddenly froze. Chu Hanfeng usually does not inquire about the specific customer situation of the salesperson. When asked, Shen Jianghe naturally thinks of Su Jianjun. He thought he had a good relationship with Su Jianjun in his daily life, but unexpectedly, he tripped himself behind the scenes. If Su Jianjun talks about Dongqing real estate in front of Chu Hanfeng, it's within his responsibility. Now he's directly reaching out to the school. What does he want to do? The school is currently making a plan, and only after completing the plan will it be submitted to their group for approval. He cannot be 100% sure whether the school will include the urban newspaper in the plan. Saying to place an order is completely unfounded. He is honest, but not foolish. Su Jianjun's words are equivalent to directly copying his back path. If an order is placed, Su Jianjun has a say in front of Chu Hanfeng, which is his credit. If there is no advertising plan for the urban newspaper, it indicates that his work is not done well. If Su Jianjun falls into trouble again, he will be unable to make ends meet. Su Jianjun made it clear that he was trying to forcibly seize Shen Jianghe's clients, which was simply robbery. Hurry up. Chu Hanfeng didn't ask further. It is said that in this industry, the jungle rule is the true game rule, where success leads to failure. Shen Jianghe suddenly felt like walking on thin ice. He usually looked calm, but unexpectedly, the dark tide was surging, and he needed to muster up his energy. Now Su Jianjun has exposed this matter to Chu Hanfeng, and Shen Jianghe has been cornered. Am I inexplicably caught up in the battlefield of the jungle? He cannot back down. We must win in battle and seize in attack. Otherwise, I will only become a sacrifice. He made many phone calls to Tingxiao, either busy or unanswered. In addition, Su Jianjun said that his relationship with Tingxiao was very good, which made him feel on pins and needles. In this situation, one should be mentally prepared to be a dead horse and a living horse doctor. The most primitive method may be the best. He only sent a sample report to Tingxiao and even handwritten a few letters, intending to stick to one letter a day, hoping to impress her. Shen Jianghe runs business during the day and also needs to check information at night. He has a severe lack of sleep time and his nerves are tense, but he is tired and not tired, as if he has been beaten with chicken blood. He couldn't rest on the weekend, so he promised Ning Ainen to help her find clients and create a few pages, which was a bit difficult for him. He just wants to take the opportunity to retrieve his documents, and then the well water won't invade the river. She will take her sunny path and walk her own wooden bridge. Ning Ainen saw him arrive as promised, and his cold and frosty face was immediately covered with a layer of sunshine. He smiled and handed him a box of business cards. He took it over and was startled. She didn't seek her opinion and took the initiative to print a business card for him in the name of her company, even labeling her position as general manager. Want to seduce oneself with a position. What kind of ghost general manager, to put it bluntly, is a salesperson? Chu Hanfeng's boss concept has been deeply rooted in his heart. How can this little trick motivate him? Mr. Ning, when you smile like this, I feel like I'm falling into an abyss. He even said last time that she looks better when smiling, but now he directly expresses serious doubts about her motives. Isn't it for work convenience? Ning Ainen thought he might be a bit excited, but things didn't go as planned. However, if you're willing, the company will also be happy. The fox's tail has finally come out. If the company is willing, whose company is it? It's not you yet. Just say you're willing and end it. This position is too high, I am invincible from a high position. You have raised me too much. Besides, I am not here for work, this is what you said. I am here to help. His tone of voice lacked any warmth. However, according to some of the situations she mentioned before, in order to meet clients now, one must have an identity in order to achieve the effect of a welcome kick. You can consider this business card as a prop, she said with a stern expression. He also thinks the same way. When she was printing business cards, she weighed his position for a long time, both tempting him and subjectively evaluating him in her heart. But he regarded it as nothing. Ning Yan'an's self-esteem was a bit frustrated, and his heart was a bit angry and indignant. This is because he looks up to you and doesn't understand you. Yes, I am like an actor, still forced to go into business. Heaven knows and earth knows this matter, you know, and I know it. Only by admitting to being unlucky and agreeing to something, even a fire pit, can one jump down. If colleagues in the advertising department know the outcome of this matter, it may be a consequence they cannot bear. She just snorted in her nose. What do you want to do again? She saw Shen Jianghe looking at her calmly. Am I missing a secretary right now? Shen Jianghe felt a bit of a practical joke in his heart. Me. She opened her eyes wide. He felt a little relieved in his heart. Who asked you to elevate me to the height of the general manager? Do we still need an assistant to perform? Shen Jianghe, you. She had intended to say a few words to him, but was worried that he would give up, so she reluctantly lowered her eyelids. The customer is upstairs in the communication market. This is the largest communication market in Sui City, with a constant stream of people coming every day to purchase walkie-talkies, pagers, and mobile phones. In the era of rapid expansion, as long as you have a place here, you will make a steady profit without losing money. It is said that you have achieved many nouveaux riches. The first to fifth floors are the market, and above the fifth floor are the offices of various companies. The clients you want to meet are located upstairs. Can we make a brilliant appearance at the client's place this time? Is the role of a secretary very important? Shen Jianghe entered the communication market and pretended to be mysterious in the elevator. Half of this is true, and the other half is to challenge her to look superior in front of her, abuse her, and if she finds herself again in the future, she must first weigh it. She gave him a disgruntled glance, her expression as if black clouds were crushing the city, indicating that she was enduring. Mr. Ning, oh Secretary Ning, when you see a client, you should smile. What do you say? He couldn't help but tease. Shen Jianghe, don't go too far. She finally couldn't bear it anymore. As soon as I finished speaking, the elevator rang, indicating that I had arrived at my destination. Ning Yan'an wanted to go crazy, but there was no time left. He walked out of the elevator first and then automatically walked in front of him to the left. This is really where the secretary should be, he couldn't help but laugh. She turned around and gave him an angry glance, and he had to quickly change his expression. Mr. Duan, I am Ning Yan'an from the Communication Journal of the Communication Society. This is our Mr. Shen. Ning Yan'an's secretary function is really good. Hello, Mr. Duan. Shen Jianghe held Mr. Duan's outstretched hand, with a smile on his face. Half of it was etiquette, while the other half felt that Ning Yan'an's appearance was somewhat comical. We exchanged pleasantries for a while. Mr. Shen, to be honest, our company doesn't need to advertise. Our products are in short supply now. Mr. Duan looked like a nouveau riche, leaning back on a large chair and crossing his legs. Upon hearing this, Ning Yan'an suddenly felt disappointed. But Shen Jianghe could tell that he just wanted to do an advertisement now, otherwise he wouldn't be so bored receiving a stranger on weekends. This is motivation, and there must be a purpose behind motivation. In terms of sales alone, your company does not need advertising, but in terms of the company's image, strength, and credibility, it is not entirely the case. Shen Jianghe agreed while reminding. Negotiating with clients requires a roundabout approach, neither direct refutation nor blindly accommodating. The content he hinted at was also Mr. Duan's inner thoughts. But your magazine doesn't have much influence, let alone its circulation, said Duan, who was very knowledgeable and began to find fault. Ning Yan'an was about to speak when he stopped her with his eyes. This is an internal communication publication in the industry, and its influence and circulation cannot be compared to mass media, but it is very accurate. He knows that if the other party is not interested, they will not nitpick and complain in front of him, which is an ambush for the later topic. Precise. What's the precise method? Let Mr. Shen talk about it. Mr. Duan tilted his head forward. This is a deliberate question, just to verify if what I think is consistent with what Shen Jianghe said. What Mr. Duan needs is a sense of similarity between heroic opinions and giving customers a sufficient reason. Our magazine mainly targets institutions within the industry, including manufacturers, research institutions, and even relevant administrative institutions. As a distributor, your company's advertising appeal is to strengthen its strength in front of these units, in order to cooperate better and more in the future. Shen Jianghe had already done relevant homework before, and like his debut in the advertising industry, such clients only have 3 axes. When he sees a client, he is half successful. The client first nitpicks, then lowers the price, and then gives the client a statement he thinks he agrees with. The rest is to sign a contract. So, in your opinion, what should I do? Duan couldn't wait. 3 Ps at a time, soft text with product information and image advertising. Shen Jianghe asked him to showcase his company comprehensively. How to charge? This is the most concerning issue for the other party. Advertising fees are not discounted, buy one get 2 free. Shen Jianghe explained that hard advertising, also known as image advertising, must be charged, and soft articles and product information must be given as gifts. Okay. Mr. Shen, feel free. Mr. Duan patted the table and asked him to wait a moment before going out and making a phone call himself. Why didn't you discuss with me and just send the layout? Ning Anan was a bit unhappy when she saw that Mr. Duan had left. Let's talk about it later. It's not convenient to discuss here. He glanced at Mr. Duan's desk and found a promotional brochure for the CEO class training. He took it over and took a closer look. It was the Property Rights Trading Center that faced the recruitment and training of middle and senior executives in the enterprise. In his impression, he did not have any information about this unit, so he took out a piece of paper and took notes. Mr. Shen, this way, as you said, I will do 3 Ps at a time, and I will do 3 consecutive periods. Also, my 2 friends will follow this operation, okay? Mr. Duan walked in with the phone. Okay, as long as it's introduced by you, for your face's sake, it's the same. Shen Jianghe didn't expect there to be any unexpected surprises. Ning Yan's eyes are shining brightly. I didn't expect Mr. Shen to be so young and have a bright future, said Mr. Duan, holding his hand. There, Mr. Duan is the leader in the industry, and we really need to learn from you in the future. Both of them looked at each other and burst into laughter. After signing the contract with Mr. Duan and his 2 friends, it was already the afternoon. Although 2 Ps were given, the 3 companies combined and the actual advertising revenue made Ning Yan very excited. If you want to take it, you must first give it to the other party. If you don't give them any sweetness, the first cooperation won't be so smooth, and there may be unexpected complications. Shen Jianghe saw that Ning Yan no longer blamed himself for taking the initiative to send the page, in order to avoid future troubles. He sealed her mouth and still explained to her. Just these 3 advertising expenses today are enough to cover her company's expenses for 6 months, allowing her to stabilize before seeking development. Everything follows Mr. Shen's arrangement. Ning Yan's face was incredibly charming. Don't call me that, I'm just your puppet and prop. My task has been completed. Mr. Ning, you should give me your graduation certificate now. Shen Jianghe had to remind her. I'll look for it again when I get back to the company, I should be able to find it, but the matter is not over yet. I have to trouble you with the soft article you promised to send. Ning Yan once again requested. Mr. Ning, please do not take any further action. Do not do what you do not want to do to others. This is not my job. According to your requirements, I have fulfilled my mission and achieved great success. Shen Jianghe was somewhat reluctant. Be a good person to the end, send Buddha to the West, I promise to find your graduation certificate, and I will not force you again in the future. Ning Anan was full of promises and sweet words. I begged him for a while, but there was no way he could do it. He had to raise his hand and surrender. She looked as beautiful as a peach blossom, once again hijacking herself. Unable to do anything, her heart softened, and he had to agree. If the 3 articles were in the format of an 8-part company introduction, he could easily do it, but this is what the magazine wants to publish, and customers should not underestimate him or be careless. Even if you have 10,000 unwillingness in your heart, if you agree, you must fulfill your duties. He lives in a crowded area, making it inconvenient to go back and write, and even more so at the newspaper office. There is only one option, which is to complete it in her company. Ning An's company was essentially transformed from a 2-bedroom apartment, with the lobby serving as the office for employees, one room serving as her office and the other as her bedroom. After dinner, he sat at her desk, opened her computer, and began to draft articles based on the information provided by the other party. For the past few days, he has been tirelessly working tirelessly. He is not an Iron Man, he is really exhausted, but there is no other choice but to let Ning An brew tea and coffee to refresh himself. With achievements, Ning An is quite hardworking in her work. She takes the lead, brews tea, brews coffee, and takes her work seriously. Mr. Ning, why do I think your secretary's job is better than being a boss? He smelled of fragrance and saw her sitting down beside him. When she was by her side, it was disturbing himself. He couldn't concentrate when writing, so he deliberately hurt her. She didn't flinch her face and quietly left with some wit. After a while, it was already very late. I believe she had just taken a shower when she walked in again in her pajamas. The aroma filled the room, and her figure was forward and backward, walking with willows supporting the wind, which made him somewhat puzzled. Mr. Ning, could you please not disturb me? Why don't you come? He vaguely felt that Ning An was intentionally swaying in front of him. He wants to say that you're dressed like this to refresh me. But he didn't say, at least for now, his understanding of her is still stuck in the boss's sequence. I remember when I asked her to resign, she panicked and pulled herself into her room, sitting on her bed. Then she sat down next to each other. At that time, her body odor and delicate breathing made him lose his hearing ability suddenly, almost being confused by her. Ning Anan remained silent, checked the tea and coffee, then leaned over to the computer with a somewhat pretentious expression. After taking a look at what he was writing, he quietly left. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Unexpected Gains. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Unexpected Gains. As dawn approached, Shen Jianghe finally finished writing, but his stomach suddenly burned and twisted, causing him to churn and vomit, but he couldn't vomit anything. He realized that he might have been drunk on tea, or had drunk too much coffee, and he vomited so hard that he couldn't catch his breath. The sound woke Ning An up, and she came out of the room, shocked to see his painful expression. What's wrong? Go to the hospital. She panicked and kept saying these 2 words. He had a pale face, rapid breathing, and only vomited a little yellow water, forming an arched figure. Ning An nervously patted his arched back, feeling a bit panicked and at a loss. It's okay. It will be fine in a while. You can buy some porridge for me to warm my stomach. He pushed her away. You're alone like this, I'm afraid. Her voice trembled slightly, her tone was gentle and infinite, no longer like a general manager or boss, just a little girl. Hee. Mr. Ning, I thought you were a cold-blooded animal. If you didn't give me my ID card, I only have this ability. It's not worth it, he chuckled bitterly. It's all like this, you're still joking. I don't have it, I really don't. I found your diploma before I went to bed, and I'll bring it to you now. Ning An spoke softly and hurriedly walked into her room. His consciousness was very clear, and upon hearing her say so, he felt relieved. He didn't take advantage of his miserable appearance to make this request now, and he didn't know what other tricks she would have in the future. Here you are, Jianghe. She walked out and watched as his head and feet were connected, curled up in a ball, stuffing his diploma into his hand. He deftly carried his diploma in his pocket and patted it outside, afraid that she would turn back and take it back. For the sake of his documents, he had been going back and forth with her for such a long time, going through ups and downs, and now that he has finally returned it to its rightful owner, no matter how uncomfortable it is in his heart, he still has an indescribable joy. Jianghe, why don't we go to the hospital? Ning Anan pulled him up, wanting him to stand up, but couldn't pull. It's okay, it's okay. Go and buy some kanji for me. Hurry up. His forehead was sweating. You wait for me to come back. I'll be there soon. Ning Anan looked concerned and watched him take a step outside before panicking and leaving the door. He only stood up at dawn, sweating profusely all over. Ningen came back from buying kanji, and he drank a few mouthfuls and felt much better in her warm gaze. How's it going? How's it going? She saw his face start to turn red and felt a little uneasy, asking several times. Hee, Mr. Ning, you have also seen that you couldn't vomit anything just now, and there was no more food in your stomach. You have drained all of your own three-legged skills, and we will settle down in the future. Shen Jianghe's tone is somewhat sinister. Don't be so harsh. Actually, I think you have developed quite well here. You can reconsider. She looked at him with a certain tone, but when she caught his gaze, she lowered her eyebrows. I don't know, do I have any practical value? Don't say that. So what should I say? Jianghe, I'm really not what you imagine. She wanted to defend herself, but there was nothing she could say. So, what do you think I'm imagining? He is too tired to speak. After drinking kanji, I lay down on the office chair, and soon fell asleep. When he woke up, he saw Ning Anan sitting in front of him, staring blankly at him. He avoided her gaze, stood up, stretched lazily, and suddenly revived with blood. He went into the bathroom, scooped water with his hands, cleaned his face, looked at the mirror on the wall, and tidied up his attire. He still needs to go to the Property Rights Trading Center to take a look. I'm leaving. He held his bag and didn't glance at her, dropping a sentence. Ning Anan chased after him, but he turned a deaf ear, didn't turn back, and strode away. I have also helped, and I have obtained my diploma. From now on, I will no longer worry about Ningen. He didn't expect that after entering the city newspaper, his first advertising order would be forced to help others pick soil, which made him feel a bit sad and amused. I was able to handle Mr. Duan because he is a nouveau riche. His purpose in advertising is not simply for profit, but more importantly for image titles. I just want to use the credibility of this magazine to demonstrate the strength of my company to certain organizations. I have had the experience of the first advertisement, and based on the characteristics of the magazine, I analyzed the demand for advertising in this section. But if it's the Suizhou Urban Daily, the advertising companies are not only more profit-oriented, but their own two brushes may not necessarily succeed. In the past, Ningyan used to hold his documents, and he had some grievances in his heart. Now that he has the documents, that resentment has disappeared. After disappearing, he suddenly realized that it was only this night that she had some natural side effects. She was peaceful in his heart and no longer had the superior feeling of the boss. Instead, she fell down and was on an equal footing with himself. You don't have to worry so much when speaking in front of her in the future. But this time, with her, we shared a common goal and worked together, seemingly increasing the distance between the two. This feeling surprised him a bit. To his delight, today Sunday, there were still people working at the training institution of the Property Rights Trading Center. The classroom required for training has been renovated and the boss is directing people to carry out secondary decoration. He took a look at this classroom, which was even more luxurious than a high-end coffee shop. After all, it recruited middle and senior management personnel from the enterprise. The boss's surname is Teng. She is a short, slim and charming woman, wearing a long skirt. When walking, her skirt does not sway. City Daily. Miss Tang was a bit happy when Shen Jianghe said it was from Suzhou City Daily. This is the first time since he started advertising that he feels customers are so happy to see him. Is the coffee working? Give us 2 cups. Miss Tang instructed her assistant to follow her like a maid. Don't be polite, it's a bit abrupt coming over today. He still has a feeling in his stomach when he hears the word coffee. It's okay, it's my first time this classroom is open to guests. Let's preview it first. Miss Tang called him the guest. Shen Jianghe felt a little embarrassed and happy. She admitted that she liked City Daily, and compared to the 3 major newspapers, many news and commentary perspectives are different, especially in the economic section. This is his first time facing a loyal reader of Suzhou Urban Daily, and her understanding of the newspaper is deeper, wider, and more thorough than that of Shen Jianghe. Listening to Miss Tang's comments on the newspaper made him feel embarrassed as a member of the Suzhou City Daily. As an advertising salesperson for a newspaper, I don't even have a thorough understanding of my products as a customer like Ms. Tang. What other business do I do? There is a saying in the industry that what you impart to customers can only be absorbed by customers at most. In front of Miss Tang, his understanding of the city newspaper is not even half of hers. If he were to introduce it to other clients, half of it would be superficial. Being unprofessional or unprofessional is fatal for anyone in the workplace. You came today, it's quite timely. As soon as our enrollment plan is confirmed tomorrow, it won't be too late. Miss Tang was straightforward and lively, and the chat atmosphere was quite relaxed. Miss Tang speaks a lot, and in front of her, he knows the truth that too much talk leads to failure. He understands better that being a good teacher is the key to success, and can only humbly listen and seek advice. I opened this training class, which is essentially a salon where everyone listens to lectures, drinks coffee, and talks about the market and economy together. It's such an enjoyable experience. Miss Tang admitted that she had nothing to do, so she attached herself to the Property Rights Trading Center to do something she wanted to do and was happy about. Upon hearing her say this, Shen Jianghe understood that such a person with nothing to do is truly a wealthy person. Wrong, she should be a rich woman with both material and spiritual qualities. The assistant brought 2 cups of coffee and placed them in front of the 2 of them. Try it, the coffee beans I bought specifically from abroad. Miss Tang has always been very gentle. Shen Jianghe didn't understand coffee, so he kept laughing and listening to her. The 2 of them had a very opportunistic conversation together. After chatting for nearly 2 hours, Miss Tang became happy and immediately stated that she had signed an advertising contract with him. This is truly an unexpected joy. The original plan was to place the order within a month, but in less than a week, the contract was signed, 2 or 3 days ahead of my first miracle. He never expected that his first order in the Suzhou Metropolitan Daily had no signs, no technical content, or even no process beforehand. But he felt that the gain this time was not in this order, but in his conversation with Miss Tang, there had been some changes in his cognition. It was really like listening to a conversation with you, better than reading 10 years of books. Xiao Shen, according to data from developed countries, whenever a financial or economic crisis occurs, the first thing many senior executives of enterprises want to do is to learn and recharge. I believe that the same may apply in China. Upon hearing him say that she was specifically responsible for enrollment training, Miss Tang told him to pay more attention to EMBA. This news is crucial for him. If it becomes a fact, if the advertisement encounters a financial crisis, he finally has the opportunity to turn the crisis into an opportunity. He was somewhat grateful to Ning Yanan in his heart. Without her arrangement this time, the opportunity would have been missed. Miss Tang, do you know Mr. Tang from the East-West Group? Shen Jianghe suddenly asked. Seeing Miss Tang happy, he was greatly troubled by this matter, and coupled with the fact that there were fewer people surnamed Tang, he dared to ask. Are you talking about Ting Xiao? She's my sister. Why, if you have something to ask her for. Miss Ting didn't feel his rudeness, and her face remained bright. You really asked the right person. I haven't been able to contact you about Dongqing School. Shen Jianghe dared not ask her for help. After all, today is our first time meeting. The school's affairs have been planned by the group for a long time. As long as they are within the established plan, the plans submitted by the school are mostly just a matter of going through the process. Miss Ting seemed to have a clear understanding. Established plan. That's not necessarily true for urban newspapers. Dongqing School has never advertised in urban newspapers. You can go find her. She may not listen to me when I speak, but you may as well mention me. Miss Ting looked at him with a confused look and took the initiative to grant her the authority. Thank you so much. Shen Jianghe was indeed a bit excited and gave her a fist. If you don't connect this link yourself, you may be constrained by Su Jianjun in the future. She seems to be working overtime today, and they have been busy all this time. Miss Ting further provided him with information. Thank you. Thank you. Shen Jianghe didn't know how many times he had said it. Thank you, it's all for work. I can tell you're very dedicated, Miss Ting chuckled. In this current situation, one must be dedicated to their work. He believes in one sentence. Only through hard work can good luck come to them. After leaving the Property Rights Center, he immediately called Ting Xiao. Unexpectedly, the phone was connected. In case she refused, he said it was recommended by Miss Ting. Ting Xiao agreed to let him go now. The haze in his heart suddenly dissipated. He ignored many things and stopped a taxi, heading straight to Eastern Manhattan. As he approached Dongqing Shijio Group, he saw Meijia Mall, a high-end shopping venue. With a heart movement, let the taxi pull over and stop. He bought a lipstick on the first floor of Meijia Shopping Mall. He doesn't understand this, but he should have chosen the most expensive and currently popular color to buy. The price has reached a point where he is about to grit his teeth. Thanks to Su Jianjun, he has to make some investments. Ting Xiao is tall and plump without appearing overweight. Apart from being as stout as her sister, she is vastly different from Miss Ting in other aspects. I just came over from your sister. After exchanging business cards, the two of them thought of themselves as the director, and had the authorization of Miss Ting, so they spoke confidently. Oh, how's her situation now? I haven't had time to go and take a look. Ting Xiao didn't seem to be a reserved person, but his face was more serious. That CEO's classroom is decorated very luxurious. We just met today and signed an advertising contract with me. He went straight in. Everyone will understand the meaning in the words. Signing a contract indicates recognition of the newspaper. He knew he was a bit hasty and should start chatting and warming up, but he kept thinking about what Miss Ting said about existing plans, and worried that this time they were only collaborating with media that had previously worked together. Your media has paid attention to it, but it feels a bit immature. Ting Xiao's face remained unchanged. This sentence made him feel a bit chilly. Does immaturity mean not being included in existing plans? But what does immaturity mean? Newspapers are changing day by day, and our reporting style is still unique. Shen Jianghe explained Miss Ting's understanding of newspapers just now, and now it's selling like hotcakes. We have our own evaluation and judgment in this regard. Ting Xiao kept letting him finish before replying. The meaning is very clear, but Shen Jianghe didn't use blowing his newspaper up today. They have their own considerations. I can't go on with this, but I finally got an appointment with her and he won't give up easily. I have communicated with the school, and although they have not expressed their opinions, it can be seen that the school leaders have a positive view of our newspaper. He thought it was necessary to let her understand the situation on the school side. She said she had a positive view, but the school leaders did not express similar immature expressions to the newspaper as she said. On the school side, they have their autonomy, she said calmly. He laughed in his heart. He came to her to talk about school advertising, not real estate advertising, just because he was a bit anxious and didn't explain it beforehand. There is a turning point, which means there is still a play. First time meeting, a little gift. He took out the red wine from his bag and placed it on the table. When I bought it, I gritted my teeth, but now when I take it out, it seems a bit stingy. How could the director of such a big company appreciate such a small thing? Don't be polite, let's not do it again. She just smiled slightly. Mr. Teng, have other colleagues from our newspaper contacted you? He still wanted to verify that with this gift, he had a bit more courage. Su Jianjun personally said that he has a good relationship with Ting Xiao. No, you're the first one. Don't you know Su Jianjun? I don't know. Ting Xiao's words made Shen Jianghe directly doubt Su Jianjun's character, and his heart is not ancient. It seems that in the future, we need to keep an extra eye on Su Jianjun. I have written to you before, but I am still on my way. He only considered writing this letter as a topic of conversation. He had already met her today, so let's take that letter as a reinforcement. Writing a letter. Ting Xiao smiled in surprise. Indeed, this communication method is too ancient and rigid. As long as you report to me about things at school, there won't be any problem. Ting Xiao stood up to see him off and said. It's really what Miss Ting said. Ting Xiao can rest assured here. After leaving the Dongqing Shijiu group, he still felt a bit uneasy about the school, so he called on the planning manager of Dongqing School and left a message about what Ting Xiao had just said. It is best to communicate with superiors and subordinates of the company in a separate manner. Now he is doing this, which is somewhat beyond his own will, but to ensure it, he has to do so. Then, he found a stone stool by the river and sat down. He began to reorganize the conversation with Miss Ting through recollection. This is what he has been adhering to since he became a salesperson, filtering again and looking for better solutions to deal with customers in communication. There will be certain commonalities between customers and within the same industry. He needs to learn to stand in the customer's perspective as soon as possible, integrate and solve the problems faced by newspapers. Miss Ting said that their institutional teaching combines theory and practice. Since entering the industry, I have not truly understood advertising from a theoretical perspective, but have only listened to some experiences shared by Wang Jiazi and Chu Hanfeng. Nowadays, even the top management of enterprises need to learn how to recharge. How can we talk about a grassroots salesperson? End of this chapter.